Chapter 789. Looking at her master's corpse in front of her, Mu Ran was a bit flustered. In the past, this place was my home, but now, this place is so unfamiliar to me. Everyone is so unfamiliar to me. Mu Ran did not do it. Of course I won't admit it. At this moment, Mu Ran's eyes were filled with determination. What right do you have to push the blame onto me? Stubborn. Long Gu snorted coldly and raised his index finger. A white-colored dookie that carried along with it the aura of death could be seen attacking towards the middle of Mu Ran's eyebrows. And Mu Ran seemed to have already expected the result of the attack, and she slowly closed her eyes. I'm still wrong. What that emperor said is right. After waiting for a long time, Mu Ran did not sense death. She slowly opened her eyes and saw a tall figure in front of her again. Mu Ran's eyes reddened instantly. This was the third time. Every time, Sky Red would stand in front of him and block the threat of death. Song Konghong's actions were undoubtedly shattering the defenses of Mu Ran's maiden heart. Every girl would have such a dream, where the man they loved would shield them from the wind and rain. And Mu Ran was no exception. Although Song Konghong was ugly, his heart was kinder than everyone else's. Song Konghong's tall figure stood in front of Mu Ran. The white battle energy had struck Song Konghong's abdomen. There wasn't even a piece of skin on his sturdy abs. Blue Valley and the other elders were dumbfounded. How was this possible? The sect master's cultivation technique was actually unable to harm him at all. Everyone's gaze became solemn. Who are you? Long Gu did not dare to be careless. This person was able to receive his attack without the slightest injury, so his strength could be seen. It was extremely powerful. Song Konghong did not say anything, but Mu Ran, who was behind her, said, "He's my guard." Long Gu suddenly laughed out loud, his voice filled with mockery. Mu Ran, you've got guts now. Lying was actually so easy. Looks like Heavenly Tao's strength has blinded your eyes. Mu Ran stood up slowly and looked at Long Gu. Sect leader, Mu Ran is telling the truth. Then I'll kill you first, traitor. Long Gu's figure suddenly disappeared. In the blink of an eye, he appeared in front of Mu Ran. His fingers formed a claw as he grabbed at Mu Ran's neck. However, an even bigger hand suddenly appeared. He grabbed Blue Valley's wrist tightly. Long Gu was shocked, Mu Ran even more so. Song Konghong. He was actually able to grab onto sect leader's wrist. At this moment, Firmament Hong had no other choice but to unleash his full strength. Otherwise, Mu Ran would definitely die. Moreover, he had held it in for a long time. He had wanted to kill everyone in this room for a long time. A bunch of degenerates. Bullying a loyal girl. A longsword materialized in Blue Valley's left hand. It went straight for Blue Sky Red's heart. Ding. The sharp sword pierced Song Konghong's chest, but a strange sound rang out. Song Konghong's skin was like steel, and the tip of the sword couldn't penetrate it at all. Long Gu was stupefied. Yu Wengang was also dumbfounded. Qile was also stunned. Ma Ji felt that he was dreaming. Mu Ran's jaw dropped. How did Sky Red suddenly become so strong? Song Konghong grabbed Long Gu's wrist and flung him away. Bang! There was a hole in the roof of the hall, and the sect leader of the Cold Sky sect was thrown out by Song Konghong. It was unknown if he would turn into a star. The entire hall was so silent that one could hear a pin drop on the ground. Since the sect leader was thrown out, the three elders didn't dare to say a single word. Meanwhile, Song Konghong grabbed onto Mu Ran's hand, causing a blush to appear on Mu Ran's pale face. Let's go. A muffled voice came out from under the iron mask. Mu Ran looked at Song Konghong blankly, and discovered that she was a bit unable to understand Song Konghong. Isn't he a mute? Why is he able to speak now? Although Mu Ran was puzzled, she still followed Song Konghong and left. This Cold Sky sect has already changed. While Song Konghong took the opportunity when Mu Ran wasn't paying attention, and shot out a strand of deviant fire from his fingertip, and noiselessly drilled into Ma Ji's body. This man should have died in Wushu Empire from the start. After Song Konghong left with Mu Ran, Ma Ji suddenly felt that his body was extremely irritable, as if there was a lump of fire burning him. Oh! Ma Ji immediately let out a scream. Under Ma Ji's skin was a patch of fiery red, and there seemed to be something burning under his skin. Yu Wengang and Qile were both stupefied. In a blink of an eye, Maji powerlessly laid down on the ground, and his entire body emitted out a charred smell. All that was left was a jet-black skin. Not long after, Longu, who was thrown out, came back. His white hair was incomparably messy, as if he had just driven a convertible sports car back. "Where is he?" Longu shouted angrily. He could no longer maintain his image as a sect master. "He's already gone," Yu Wengang said, trembling with fear. The other party was too terrifying. Longu heaved a sigh of relief and looked at Maji. "What's wrong with him?" "I don't know. It was like a fire just now." Qilu also lost his imposing manner and said in a low voice. Longu said gravely, "I didn't expect that. Mu Ran actually managed to find such a powerful bodyguard. I've underestimated her." "Grandmaster, this guard is very strong. What should we do?" Yu Wenba asked in a low voice. "Humph. Since Mu Ran is heartless, don't blame me for being ruthless. Aren't her parents in Gouda Principality?" Hearing the sect master's words, the two elders instantly understood. No one is allowed to say a word about what happened today. The Blue Valley had been humiliated so badly. They definitely did not want others to know about it. Their dignity was already on the ground. "Yes," everyone replied respectfully. However, right at this moment, a voice suddenly rang out. "Wushu Empire invites you over. Tianliang Sect's sect master will arrive at Wushu Empire in 5 days. If you don't come, the sect will be exterminated." The one who finished speaking was naturally Baigu. Passing on such words seemed to be a trick that Baigu was very good at. After finishing speaking, Baigu went to another place to pass on the message. However, before Longu and the others could react, they even felt that what they heard just now was an auditory hallucination. "Sect Master, I seem to have heard it just now." Yu Wengang mumbled. Shock could be seen within his eyes. "I heard it too," Qila said while trembling with fear. Longu's expression was gloomy. "This damned Wushu Empire. They are simply trampling on Tianliang Sect's dignity." On the other side, Baigu arrived at Gouda Principality. At this time, the prince had yet to return, and King Feng Yongzhang was currently in his study room meditating with a grave expression on his face. "Wushu Empire invites you over. Gouda Principality's king must arrive at Gouda Principality in 5 days. If not, the country will be exterminated." Feng Yongzhang went into a daze as he looked at his surroundings. Could it be that I am having a misconception? However, those palace maids also revealed a perplexed expression. "Did you all hear it just now?" Feng Yongzhang asked gravely. The palace maids who were standing at the side hurriedly kneeled down. Chapter 790. How was this possible? Were the rumors true? White Bones went to the other 2 countries and said the same thing before leaving. As for whether they would come or not, it was up to them. If he came, there would still be a chance of survival. If he didn't, there would definitely be no chance. At this moment, Song Konghong and Mu Ran had already left Tianliang Sect, and were standing beside a clear river. Mu ran through the stone. Just like before, Song Konghong stood behind Mu Ran. "You're lying to me. You know how to talk and you're very strong," Mu Ran said with her back facing Sky Hai Hong. Song Konghong's heart sank, and she hurriedly explained, 1 minute later." "No, another minute passed." "Yes. So, Mu Ran looked at Song Konghong in a daze, not interrupting him. After listening, she asked, "Is it difficult for you to speak? How long does it take to say another word?" "Yes." Song Konghong nodded. Mu Ran finally understood. This way of speaking was indeed no different from being mute. It was understandable. "But you lied to me. You're clearly very powerful." Mu Ran seemed to be blaming Song Konghong, but her tone was like that of a little girl throwing a tantrum. Song Konghong didn't want Mu Ran to misunderstand and hurriedly said, Mu Ran quietly listened to Song Konghong's explanation. Although she spoke a little slowly, Mu Ran did not interrupt and appeared very serious. Song Konghong spent half an hour explaining his intentions. He had fallen off a cliff by chance and refined his strength, but he didn't dare to tell others about it. It had to be said that Song Konghong had learned how to lie. At the very least, he didn't stupidly say that he was the emperor's subordinate, and that he was here to lie to him. From this incident, It could be seen that Song Kong Hong had developed some emotional intelligence. It seemed like she did not want to lose Mu Ran, even though she did not admit it. However, when Song Kong Hong looked at Mu Ran, who was quietly listening to what she was saying, she felt very strange in her heart, and seemed to be moved. He was always a listener. In the past, when he spoke to Yu Hua would always interrupt him and guess what he meant. Whether it was Yue Hua or the flagmaster, they were all the same. Because they spoke too slowly, others did not have the patience to listen. However, Mu Ran, she didn't have a single trace of impatience on her face, and seemed to be very serious. She was the first girl to listen to him seriously. Mu Ran suddenly took off her iron mask and looked at Song Kong Hong's strange face. She asked seriously, "Is what you said true?" "Yes." Song Kong Hong nodded. It seemed like she had really gotten smarter after the incident with Yu Hua. She knew how to lie to little girls. Mu Ran nodded and gently bit her lips. Then she suddenly kissed Song Kong Hong on the cheek and ran away with a red face. Song Kong Hong was stupefied. He had lived for more than 10,000 years, yet today he was forcefully kissed by a girl. Shouldn't he be angry? But why do I feel a little happy in my heart? What a strange feeling. Song Kong Hong was stunned for a long time. Then he put on his iron mask and slowly walked to Mu Ran's side. Right now Mu Ran's hands were tightly clasped together, feeling very shy and nervous. Just now I was too impulsive. I kissed him. How embarrassing. He wouldn't blame her for being frivolous, would he? Did he think that she was a casual girl? Song Kong Hong took in a deep breath, as though she was making some great decision. She then reached out to hold that small hand once more, and headed toward the direction of Voidless Empire. Meanwhile, Mu Ran was being held by Song Kong Hong. Looking at that tall and big back view of Song Kong Hong, Mu Ran felt as if she was being surrounded by a strong sense of security, and it was very warm. The two of them were not in a hurry to return. Instead, they strolled along the green mountains and clear waters, as if they were on a date. If it was the Song Kong Hong of the past, he would have directly brought Mu Ran back to Voidless Empire. But now he actually knew how to go sightseeing. It seemed like she had been enlightened quite a bit. At the very least, the girl had expressed her feelings, and Song Kong Hong had also expressed her attitude. Although he didn't say anything, silence spoke louder than words. And the main reason why Yi Hua invited these big shots of Northern Liang land over was to announce some things. For example, in the future, Wushu Empire will have the final say in Northern Liang land. In the future, these three countries will become Wushu Empire's subsidiary countries. And of course Tianliang sect. You can disagree, but as for what the consequences will be, you can imagine it even with your buttocks. This was a feast at Hongmen. Either they chose to submit or they chose to die. It was time for Liang Bei to submit. After all, the Northern Liang was a small place. However, for the past few nights, Qin Yutong had been rather tired. After all, the children were about to leave. Qin Ye and Donghuang Baiji had given all of their time to the children. Thus, Qin Yutong had to take over the glorious and great mission. Meanwhile, Qin Yutong was complaining incessantly. In the past, I always wanted my brother-in-law to hug me, and now he did hug me. But how can he hug me from night to day? I can't even rest for a single moment. Thus Qin Yutong, this new empress, chose to hide and seek. In the beginning, she would hide in the palace. She would either go to Zishan Palace or Yi Zizi's palace. In any case, she would go wherever she went. In the end, she would be found by Yi Hua and carried back. On this day, Qin Yutong learned from experience and directly ran out of the palace. Right now, Qin Yutong was walking on the streets of Voidless Empire. However, her walking posture was a bit strange, as if she was injured. Bastard brother-in-law, to actually use so much strength, it still hurts even now. Qin Yutong muttered a few times. I told him to rest, but he isn't even willing to rest. Tonight, I won't go back no matter what. It had been a long time since Qin Yutong left the palace. She discovered that Voidless Empire had changed a lot. The population ratio had increased, and right now, she could even see children playing on the streets. There were even couples and the likes. Suddenly, Qin Yutong felt that a big hand was hugging onto her waist. That big hand was simply too familiar. I was found again. Brother-in-law, just let me go for a night. Take pity on Yutong. Qin Yutong immediately hugged onto Yihua, then started acting pitiful. Yihua sneered. In the past, did you think that I wouldn't be able to find you just because you ran out of the palace? Brother-in-law sob. Qin Yutong acted coquettishly again. Let's go. Yihua said faintly. In any case, this is my own empire, and I didn't even inspect it much. Qin Yutong was delighted. She hugged onto Yihua's arm and walked onto the streets. It seems like this is the first time I'm going on a date with brother-in-law, and it feels pretty good. Yutong, what do you think about this inn? Yihua looked towards a rather luxurious inn and said. Qin Yutong didn't react in time and said casually, it's pretty good. Let's go and get a room then. Qin Yutong, brother-in-law, we can talk about it. There is no need for us to be in a hurry. If you were to spoil Yutong, you wouldn't be able to use her in the future. Chapter 791. Qin Yutong said, I don't want to go in. Brother-in-law is shameless, messing with me every day. Yihua turned his head around and said faintly, Yutong, if you want to find excitement outside, that's fine too. I can satisfy you. Then let's just get a room. Qin Yutong had a gloomy look on her face. So brother-in-law is actually so clingy. Although I am gloomy, I am still quite happy. However, after walking into the inn, it was actually full. Yihua walked out with a gloomy face. I don't believe that all the inns are full. In the end, after asking a few inns, all of them were full. In actuality, the number of people who knew Yihua, the emperor, was rather few. He often stayed in the palace and didn't come out much, so everyone thought that he was an ordinary person. Recently, there were quite a lot of people who entered the city, and all of the inns were basically full. Qin Yutong looked at Yihua's gloomy face and immediately let out a sweet-sounding laughter. Brother-in-law, don't be like this. It's not like Yutong will run away, it's all yours. In the past, I wanted to increase the population, but now, I suddenly want to decrease the population. Yihua said faintly. Qin Yutong was very happy in her heart, because all of this is for me. I am so happy. Although there is less excitement and nervousness, there is more of a taste of happiness. Brother-in-law, how about we? Qin Yutong blinked her beautiful eyes towards Qin Yutong's intentions. How could Yihua not understand? Qin Yutong could be seen pulling Yihua and running into a dark alley. Then pushing Yihua onto the wall, she said, Little Gongzi, let's see where you can run to today. Oh, you are even putting on an act for me. In actuality, Yihua quite liked this kind of Qin Yutong. Qinye and Donghuang Baiji are a lot more well-behaved. What do you want? Yihua said coldly. I want. Qin Yutong directly pressed onto Yihua's body, then stood on her tiptoes and kissed him. Yihua did not hesitate and held on to Qin Yutong's, but with both of his hands. These clothes are really hard to take off. Just as the fire was about to ignite, a ray of light suddenly appeared. Audacious madman, you actually dare to take liberties with an innocent woman in Wushu Empire. Yihua and Qin Yutong, who were in the midst of kissing, could be seen getting a bit stupefied. Yihua and Qin Yutong, who were in the middle of kissing, were a bit stupefied. Qin Yutong immediately felt embarrassed and hid behind Yihua. This is so embarrassing. Other people saw this. Luckily, I didn't fight with Yihua just now. It was better to have less passion in the wild in the future. Yihua looked towards Kai Yun and said gravely, Kai Yun, what are you doing instead of sleeping so late at night? With an exaggerated expression on his face, Kai Yun said, and everyone kneeled onto the ground. So it was my emperor. It was my subordinate's negligence. I didn't know that my emperor and empress were here. That. Qin Yutong felt that her face was about to bleed. This matter will definitely spread like wildfire within the team. And the fact that I and his honor did it in a dark alley, and big sister will also know about it. I'm finished. Get lost. My great mood has been disrupted by you. Yihua shouted out gravely. Just a moment ago, I was in a passionate mood, and right now I no longer have any mood at all. This subordinate will scram right away. My Majesty, this alley is not hygienic. There are many germs. Scram! Yihua shouted with a black face. This Kai Yun is definitely doing this on purpose. Kai Yun immediately brought along his men and left. His honor flew into a rage out of humiliation. After everyone left, Yihua said helplessly, "Let's go, let's return to the palace." "Brother-in-law, Yutong is definitely going to be made fun of," Qing Yutong said with a bitter face. "If anyone dares to make fun of you, I will hang them up and beat them up. Brother-in-law, Yutong wants to lie in your embrace and sleep. All right, I will spare you this once tonight." "Moi, thank you, brother-in-law." Qing Yutong leaned onto Yihua's shoulder happily, and the two slowly walked towards the palace. However, after returning to the palace, Yihua's mood became much better. "Therefore, the words that I said just now are all useless now. I should first settle my physiological needs, then go to sleep." Qing Yutong shouted out loud. "Brother-in-law is a liar, I am lying to myself. However, it feels really good, just that the time taken is a bit longer." 5 days passed by very quickly, and Yihua received a report from Baigu. 1 sect and 3 countries are all on their way here. Hearing this result, Yihua was a bit disappointed. After all, if all 3 countries don't come, I would have a reason to attack. What a pity, those people are still rather smart, they know that they are coming. "Reporting to your honor, Miran has returned to the palace," Baigu said respectfully. Right now Yihua was currently reading Kangluo Continent's history book. In the past, I have never read about it, but now that I am not busy, reading about it every day is rather interesting. "Bring her over to see me," Yihua said faintly. "Yes." Not long later, Yihua heard the sound of footsteps. "Long live your majesty." Yihua's back was facing Miran as he said faintly, "Your majesty? Miran, don't you think that you should change it? Did you forget about what you promised me?" Miran, who was kneeling on the ground, paused for a moment. "I don't even know what the emperor saw in me." "Long live my emperor! Long live my emperor! Long live my emperor!" Miran shouted out sincerely. A trace of an evil smile appeared on the corner of Yihua's mouth. "I, the Supreme Overlord, managed to turn a loyal Miran into my side with just a snap of my fingers, and she willingly joined my side. Seems like my ability to control people is becoming more and more awesome." Yihua placed down the book, then turned around and looked towards Miran. "You can stand up." "Thank you, my emperor." Miran stood up respectfully and sized up the emperor in front of him. "Why is he so smart? If only my brain is half as good as his, that would be fine." "How is it? I didn't lie to you, right?" "I didn't." "Then, do you think that I did something wrong?" Yihua asked. Miran took a deep breath. "From my emperor's perspective, I didn't do anything wrong, and I even gave you a chance." "Continue." "However, my emperor's way of doing things will attract a lot of people's attention. After all, Northern Liang is just a small place." Hearing what Miran said, Yihua revealed out a smile, but very quickly, he retracted his smile. "Miran, you have overlooked an important problem." "Miran doesn't understand. I want everyone to know that in Northern Liang, there is an existence that they cannot afford to offend." Yihua had changed his strategy. He didn't take the initiative to look for trouble with others, and instead, he waited for others to come and look for trouble with him. After that, he would be able to openly exterminate those people. Miran thought for a moment. "That's true, the emperor is so powerful. It seems like there is no need for me to fear anyone." "That's right, accompany me for a meal tonight," Yihua said faintly. "That would be Miran's honor. Go and rest then." "Thank you, my emperor." What Miran didn't know was that Yihua was going to invite the 3 kingdoms to a banquet tonight. If others were to see Miran sitting at Yihua's side, those people's expressions would definitely be very interesting. The expression of those people should be very interesting. This was also the reason why Yihua wanted to call Mu Ran over. Right now, Wuliang Sect's sect master had already arrived at the city gate. Beside him was Yu Wengang and Qi Le. Looking at the imposing city gate, the 3 finally understood why Ma Ji and Fang Meiying wanted to take down the city gate. The city gate was indeed very attractive. End of this chapter. Chapter 792. Sect Master, this Wushu Empire is truly majestic. Just this city wall alone is even more majestic than Aoyuo River's 3 absolute palace. Yu Wenba, who was at the side, couldn't help but exclaim. Qi Le looked at the endless city walls and said, I'm afraid even the Qingren prison is comparable to the Three Absolute Hall. Longu lightly stroked his white beard, did not say anything, and walked towards the city gate. When he saw the white-armored warrior at the city gate, he frowned slightly. There was no fluctuation of battle energy, just like an ordinary person. What did that mean? From what they said, these guards were all of the Dodosher class. Filled with doubt, the three of them walked into Voidless Empire. This time, the three of them had been very low-key. There was no suspicion of exaggeration. After all, Wushu Empire's strength had yet to be fully displayed. However, from the looks of it now, it was already extremely powerful. It was an existence that could not be provoked. Not long after the Tianliang sect entered the city, the king of the Gouda Principality, Feng Yongzhang, also appeared with a gloomy expression. However, this kind of expression disappeared very quickly because he was shocked by the Voidless Empire in front of him, and he was unable to come back to his senses for a very long time. Compared to his Gouda Principality, his place was just a place where the natives lived. It was not worth mentioning at all. He didn't even feel like a king anymore, more like a village chief. He really didn't know how far behind he was without comparison. The Gouda Principality still had its grandeur. The long procession displayed the grandeur of an emperor. But in front of Voidless Empire, this was merely a joke. Feng Yongzhang also knew that he would be making a fool of himself if he came alone. It was not only Feng Yongzhang who was like this. The Xuanzhong Kingdom and the Great Earth Empire who came after him were the same. Such a procession walked into the city, and was pointed at by the commoners. Some even covered their mouths and chuckled. You're all defeated people, yet you still have the nerve to act like this. Aren't you afraid of being laughed at by others? You're just lowering your own status. Looking at the Tianliang sect that just entered, they kept a low profile, always walking. The procession soon arrived in front of the palace. At this time, the kings were about to come down. Beside the palace stood sect leader Longu and the others. Why didn't they enter? It was because they wanted to wait for them to enter together. As the sect master of the heavenly cold sect, how could Longu tolerate this temper? He absolutely could not tolerate this. So he just stood there silently, throwing a tantrum. The three emperors got off their carriages and saw Blue Valley's group. They didn't think much of it and hurried over to greet them. We pay our respects to sect leader Lon. The three kings respectfully greeted. Longu replied with his eyes closed, appearing cold and arrogant. Among the three kings, other than Feng Yongzhang, Xuanzhong Kingdom's Song Feiyang had sent assassins to assassinate Mu Ran. The other thinner one was Guan Jiaxiang, the king of the Taitian Empire. He looked nervous. Seeing that Longu was silent, Guan Jiaxiang cautiously asked, Sect Master Lon, what happened this time? Are we considered to be sheep walking into a tiger's den today? Song Feiyang also said worriedly, That's right, Lord Lon. I heard that your 200,000 disciples were all killed. Patriarch Feng was crushed to death and Patriarch Ma is missing. What should we do? We can't fight back at all. Hearing Song Feiyang's words, Longu's face darkened even more. He seemed to be reminding himself that 200,000 disciples and 2 elders had died. Feng Yongzhang said in a low voice, What are you all worried about? Everything will be decided by Sect Master Lon. Song Feiyang and Guan Jiaxiang didn't say anything. They could only rely on the powerful Tianliang sect now. Feng Yongzhang, have you done what I told you to do? Longu asked with murderous intent. Sect Master Lon, Mu Ran's entire family has been beheaded. No one was spared. Feng Yongzhang said respectfully. Longu nodded. Very good. That bastard. How dare he betray the Tianliang sect? Yeah, I feel weird when Mu Ran said she came here alone. Feng Yongzhang also said, trying to curry favor with her. The heavy palace gate suddenly made a sound. This made them stand up straight and look at the gate that was slowly opening. Yihong appeared at the gate. She looked at them and said, Follow me. Everyone took a deep breath. They didn't know if it was a blessing or a curse to enter this gate. It all depended on fate. Yihong led the way in front, followed by all the big shots of the Northern Liang sect. They walked up the long stairs and finally arrived at the main hall. Everyone, please. Yihong didn't plan to go in and smiled. Lan Gu and the others didn't have any doubts and walked into the main hall. Walking into the main hall, Lan Gu felt very warm. The floor beneath his feet seemed to be unusual, and the dragon pillar was emitting an astonishing aura. Sitting on the throne at the center is that Wushu Empire's emperor. His appearance is indeed extraordinary, and his appearance is astonishing. And the one who was sitting below, it's actually Mu Ran. When Lan Gu and the others saw Mu Ran, they were all stupefied. When Mu Ran saw the sect master and the others, he was also stupefied. I didn't expect that other than me, the emperor would treat someone else. This kind of meeting, it seems a bit awkward. Yi Hua, who was sitting on the throne, liked this scene very much, especially when he saw the look of disbelief on Lan Gu and the others' faces. In Lan Gu's heart, he never expected that Mu Ran would have really defected to the enemy. Looking at him now, he is actually eating with the emperor. When he thought about everything that happened, a terrifying thought emerged in Lan Gu's mind. Everything was arranged. Mu Ran's disappearance was a ploy to make me send troops over to save him, and then snatch him away. In the eyes of others, I am no different from a bandit, but Wushu Empire won a good reputation and defeated the strongest Tianliang sect. Damn it! I was actually tricked. Lan Gu wasn't the only one who thought this way. Even Feng Yongzhang had the same thought. It seemed like everything had been planned. What a vicious girl. My son still hasn't returned yet. All of this was arranged by Yi Hua. In the past, Mu Ran was still loyal, but you all made her bitterly disappointed, and now, she is following me. Suddenly, Feng Yongzhang's expression became extremely ugly, because he thought of something. I executed Mu Ran's family. If Mu Ran really defected to Wushu Empire, then this matter would be huge. Everyone stood below without any etiquette. After all, they were sect masters or even kings. There was no reason for them to kneel and kowtow. Yi Hua looked at them indifferently, then said to Mu Ran, "Mu Ran, shouldn't you say something at a time like this?" Mu Ran came back to her senses. Of course, she understood what the emperor meant, but should she really say those words? After a while, Mu Ran seemed to have made a decision. That hesitant expression of hers became much calmer, and she shouted out, "Why are you still not bowing after seeing my emperor?" Yi Hua was very satisfied with Mu Ran's attitude. Chapter 793. X to the power of 8-1 Z carat. Yin 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 ad-free update fastest new August 1st Chinese Xiaoshu net. As his subordinate, no matter how weak he was, he couldn't lose in terms of momentum. No matter how big the problem was, he would be there to shoulder it. Hearing Mu Ran's words, Lan Gu's expression turned extremely ugly. It was as if he had just eaten sh*t. In the past, this lass always had to kneel and worship him, but now she actually wanted him to kneel and worship someone else. What an ingrate! Feng Yongzhang, who was standing behind Lan Gu, felt the same way. This girl was very scheming. She had unknowingly latched onto such a thick thigh. Scheming B****. Guan Jiaxiang and Song Feiyang, who were standing at the side, did not say anything. However, as long as Lan Gu knelt, they would definitely have to. They had no other choice. It all depended on Blue Valley now. Seeing that no one responded, Mu Ran shouted again, "Greet the emperor. Kneel down and pay your respects." Lan Gu really wanted to strangle this brat to death. However, he didn't dare to do so. If he were to make a move, something might happen. He didn't want to bring about a calamity that could destroy his sect. But didn't kneeling mean that he had submitted? If word of this got out, where would his face go? Lan Gu took a deep breath, cupped his fists and shouted, "Cold Sky sect leader Lan Gu greets your majesty." The people standing at the back also shouted. This should be considered giving face to the other party. The other party wouldn't force them anymore. Mu Ran didn't know if the emperor accepted it, so she didn't say anything. Yi Hua placed down the chopsticks in his hand and asked faintly, "Is your hearing normal?" Everyone's heart sank. This emperor was really insatiable. Yet he was still unwilling to let it go. "Your Majesty, of course our hearing is normal," Lan Gu said in a deep voice. Yi Hua leaned on the dragon throne and said faintly, "Since it is normal, hurry up and pay your respects to the emperor. After that, we can talk about other matters." "Your Majesty, isn't this inappropriate?" Long Gu said in a low voice. There was a hint of anger in his tone. It had been a long time since Long Gu had been humiliated like this. Oh. Inappropriate? Was the strength that this empress displayed not strong enough? If this is the case, you all can go home now and welcome my strength. I will not disappoint you all. Yihua's meaning was very clear. Today, if you all do not kneel, then you all are being disrespectful. If that's the case, I will have a reason to kill all of you one by one. So don't ever give me a reason to kill all of you. If not, all of you will die miserably. This isn't a joke, this is a serious warning. Hearing such a threat, the scene became quiet for a while, and it seemed strange and oppressive. At this time, a terrifying panic spread in the hearts of the three kings, and their bodies trembled. Finally, Xuanzhong Kingdom's Song Feiyong couldn't suppress the fear in his heart and knelt down with a thud. Song Feiyong, who was wearing the emperor's gown, kneeled down. This scene caused even Mu Ran to be very surprised. However, Yihua didn't kneel down and continued to wait quietly. As Song Feiyong knelt, it seemed to have an effect. Guan Jiaxiang, who was next to him, could not help but kneel as well. The fear in his heart had reached its limit. Feng Yongzhang was the same. His legs were trembling, and the fear in his heart was magnified infinitely. Finally, he couldn't take it anymore and knelt down. Only the three from the Cold Sky sect did not kneel. The three kings are smart to choose a better future. Master, if you don't want to kneel, then bring your people back to eat a hot meal, and wait for death to come. Don't disturb the conversation between me and the three kings. Long Gu turned around to look. The three kings were kneeling on the ground, trembling, while Yu Wengang and Qi Lu stood silently behind him. Blue Valley's heart was in a fierce struggle. Should he believe the words of this emperor? If he turned around and left, he would really be able to destroy the sect. That would be the end of him. However, this emperor could also be scaring him. A person who could easily kill his elder. Would such a person lie to him? And that confident look didn't seem to be an act. Blue Valley took a step back and slowly knelt down. When Yu Wengang and Qi Lu saw their sect leader kneeling, they didn't think much and followed suit. Mu Ran couldn't believe what she was seeing. All the big shots of Northern Liang were kneeling. This can't be a dream, right? Yihua let out a light sigh, seemingly a bit disappointed. Seems like these people are all smart people. Long Gu took the lead and shouted, Your Majesty! Hooray! 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 Your Majesty! Hooray! 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 Yihua said faintly, Get up, sit at the side and eat. Thank you, Your Majesty. After everyone sat down, Yihua said lightly, Actually, I hope that all of you can have a bit of backbone. This was a sentence of mockery. Everyone's expression turned ugly. This way, I will be able to kill all of you. Following Yihua's words, the few big shots' expression changed. They felt that it was fortunate that they kneeled just now. After all, life and death were decided by kneeling. Why would they not kneel and instead ask for death? Only an idiot would choose death. Long Gu seemed to be a bit autistic. Meanwhile, Feng Yongzhang said respectfully, Thank you, Your Majesty, for not killing us. Yihua didn't say anything after hearing it. He picked up his chopsticks and said, Have a taste of these dishes, they are all top-quality dishes. They are definitely dishes that you all have never eaten before. Especially this crayfish, it is delicious. Remember to wear gloves before eating, there is a lot of oil in it. After hearing that, Song Feiyong really wore a disposable glove and tasted the crayfish. Soon after, Song Feiyong praised, My Majesty, it is so delicious. Haha, let's eat, let's talk while eating. Yihua said with a smile. Returning to this place was like returning home. Yihua was smiling a lot. Feng Yongzhang and Guan Jiaxiang didn't stand on ceremony and tasted the crayfish. As expected, it is delicious. Mu Ran is my subordinate now, and what you all were in the past, you all will still be what you all are in the future. Hearing what Yihua said, everyone paused for a moment. This seems to be good news. I thought that I am going to be the king by myself, but it turns out that nothing has changed. Soon after, Yihua continued, But in the future, Mu Ran will be managing all of you. Her words are my words. If you all don't obey me, then change to someone else who is obedient. Do you all understand what I mean? Long Gu's hands that were placed under the table were tightly clenched. Right now, I actually have to listen to a little girl. How can I tolerate this? I can't tolerate this. Let's eat a crayfish first to calm down. We will all listen to my emperor. The few big shots shouted out. Yihua nodded his head. Yihua's mood was pretty good. No one dared to anger me. At this moment Muran asked, "Are my parents doing well in Gouda Principality?" Feng Yongzhang was immediately startled, and even Lan Gu's expression tensed up. If I had known that Muran had surrendered to me, I definitely wouldn't have gone to kill Muran's family. Feng Yongzhang knew that he wouldn't be able to hide the matter anymore. After eating the last crayfish, he hurriedly walked to the center of the table and kneeled down. Seeing Feng Yongzhang's action, Muran's expression immediately became unsightly, and a feeling of fear spread within her mind. "What happened?" Yihua asked faintly. Feng Yongzhang hurriedly said, "My emperor, Muran's family has already been completely killed by me, but this was all under sect Master Lan's order. He said that Muran betrayed the sect, and thus he wanted to kill Muran's family. I had no choice but to do so." Old Tai, set a small goal first. Chapter 794. Hearing Feng Yongzhang's words, Muran's vision turned pitch black. She sat powerlessly on the ground and her beautiful eyes became misty. She clenched her fists tightly and glared at Lan Gu. After hearing that, Yihua slightly wrinkled his brows and asked, "Blue Valley, is what Feng Yongzhang said true?" Lan Gu slowly stood up, walked to the center and knelt down. "My emperor, it was my order, but I thought that Muran had betrayed me, so I gave the order." Yihua took a look at Muran who was at the side, then said, "Family members shouldn't be implicated. You all should be able to understand this logic, right? We know our wrongs." The two quickly admitted their wrongs. Yihua asked faintly, "Muran, what do you think we should do about this matter? After all, they are also considered to be your enemies." Muran slowly closed her eyes. Her family appeared in her mind. Tears flowed from the corners of her eyes. When she opened them again, there was no pity in her eyes. "Kill." Hearing Muran's words, Yihua felt a bit gratified. If I were to let this matter go, then Yihua nodded his head, seemingly approving of the proposal. Just when Feng Yongzhang, who was kneeling on the ground, wanted to plead for leniency, he felt a chill on his neck. Stretching out his hand to touch his neck, he saw that it was all blood. Then, the entire head rolled down. Without the head, blood gushed out like a fountain. Everyone present was dumbfounded. They didn't even know who did it. However, Lan Gu, who was kneeling by the side, was the same. His body was covered in blood, but he had no idea who had killed Feng Yongzhang. A bad premonition erupted within Lan Gu's heart. He saw Lan Gu unleash all of his strength at the peak of the Do Huang class. "Give me your life." Lan Gu knew that if the emperor did not die, he would die. He would rather cut off all means of retreat. Lan Gu's entire body transformed into a sharp golden sword. Instantly, it shone brightly, and a terrifying sword chi filled the palace. Seeing this scene, Song Feong sighed in his heart. Was this the peak of a Do Huang? So powerful. As expected of the sect master of the Tianliang sect. Awesome. As for Yu Wenba, his eyes were also filled with surprise. He did not expect the sovereign to have mastered the human sword transformation technique. Even a dozong would have to be careful of this move. A terrifying pressure was emitting out from the palace, and the huge pressure was heading towards Yihua. However, Yihua didn't put it in his eyes and continued to eat. This kind of pressure was no different from cotton. Roar! 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 For dragon roars suddenly rang out, causing everyone's ears to ring. The divine dragons surrounding the red pillars suddenly appeared. The four mystical dragons opened their bloody mouths and bit down on the longsword in the air. The longsword was instantly torn apart, but the mystical dragons did not seem to mind at all. They swallowed it all, and then continued to merge into the pillar, as if it had never appeared. A few silver threads fell from the sky. The entire process didn't even take 10 seconds, but it was definitely memorable for a lifetime. 4 divine dragons appeared. Lan Gu, who was at the peak of the Do Huang class, was bitten into pieces. No. In that instant, he already possessed the strength of a dozong. However, so what if he was a dozong? In the end, Only a few strands of hair remained. No one dared to speak. They finally saw the emperor's strength. The divine dragon was just a decoration. F***ck. How the F***ck could anyone live like this? Right now, the two elders of Tianliang sect were frightened. Just now, the sect leader tried to kill the emperor. This therefore Yuan Gang and Qi Lu hurriedly knelt in the middle. Your Majesty, spare our lives. We don't know anything. Yi Hua ignored them and looked towards Mu Ran, who was grieving. Mu Ran, my condolences. Hearing the emperor's consolation, Mu Ran couldn't take it anymore. Her strong appearance collapsed and she cried bitterly on the table. After all, Mu Ran wasn't even 20 years old yet. How could she possibly endure such a blow? I lost my parents in an instant. Yi Hua sighed slightly. Luckily, I don't have parents. After a long while, Mu Ran stabilized herself and said with a sobbing tone, Your Majesty, please allow Mu Ran to leave first. All right, go back and rest for a while. Thank you for your concern, Your Majesty. Mu Ran knelt respectfully, then turned around and walked out of the palace hall. The main culprit had already been punished, so there wasn't much to say. Yi Hua looked at the two people who were kneeling and said faintly, What are the two of you called? Your Majesty. This lowly one is called Yuan Gang. Your Majesty. This lowly one is called Qi Lu. Yi Hua said faintly, Yuan Gang, in the future, you will be the sect leader of Tianliang sect, and Qi Lu, you will be the emperor of Gouda Principality. Hearing that the emperor didn't pursue the matter, the two were elated. Thank you, Your Majesty. Long live Your Majesty. Long live Your Majesty. The two hurriedly thanked Yi Hua. This is truly a wise ruler, a great person. After that, nothing else happened. After the few of them finished eating, they left the palace and rested for the night in the tavern outside. Tomorrow they would return to their own territory. Yi Hua also went to find Qing Yutong to have some fun. Qing Yutong felt that she was going to be played by her brother-in-law. In Mu Ran's bedroom, Song Konghong stood at the entrance of the bedroom. Hearing Mu Ran's cries ringing out from inside, Song Konghong felt very uncomfortable in his heart. Should I go in and comfort Mu Ran? I heard that Mu Ran's parents were all killed. Although the enemy is already dead, Mu Ran's parents won't be able to come back to life. Just as Song Konghong was pondering, Tang Wei walked in. Tang Wei had also heard about this matter, so she specially came over to take a look at Mu Ran's situation. Looking at Song Konghong, who was standing foolishly outside of the bedroom, Tang Wei wished that she could knock on Song Konghong's head. What are you still standing outside for? Quickly go in and comfort Mu Ran. Tang Wei pulled Song Konghong to the side and said in a low voice. Song Konghong did not say anything. You've already missed out on Yi Hua. Don't tell me you want to miss out on Mu Ran as well. Do you really want to see Mu Ran marry someone else? Tang Wei mercilessly attacked Song Konghong. Song Konghong clenched her fists tightly when she heard Tang Wei's words. Do I have to see Mu Ran get married? And then go through that pain again? Tang Wei looked at Firmament Red. She was exasperated that Firmament Red did not live up to her expectations. She snorted coldly and left first. She would come back to see Mu Ran tomorrow. Song Konghong stood where she was for a long time. She looked at the door, mustered her courage and walked up. Song Konghong gently pushed open the wooden door. She saw Mu Ran lying on the bed and crying. She felt terrible when she heard her crying. Song Konghong slowly walked forward and sat on the edge of the bed. Looking at that petite figure moving slightly, she reached out and patted it lightly. Mu Ran turned around to look at Blue Sky Hong. She pounced on her and cried even harder. Song Konghong heaved a sigh of relief. She gently hugged Mu Ran and stroked her back. The two of them didn't say anything. They seemed to understand each other. After a long time, Mu Ran got tired of crying and fell asleep within Song Konghong's embrace. Song Konghong lightly placed Mu Ran on the bed and covered her with the blanket. Afterward, she stood at the side and continued to protect Mu Ran. Meanwhile, Yi Hua was currently in the middle of a meeting. This was a family meeting that was held by Qingya. There were a total of 4 people, Yi Hua and his 3 wives. The main topic of the meeting was regarding Yi Hua's domestic violence against Qing Yutong. Chapter 795. Yi Hua glared at Qing Yutong fiercely, seemingly asking, What are you doing this time? You are clearly saying that you are having fun every day, and now, you are doing such a thing. I really want to ruthlessly slap you. Qin Yutong hid behind her big sister and stuck out her tongue. You bully me every night. I will bully you tonight. Yi Hua knew about Qin Yutong's mischievousness, so he played along with her. Yi Hua, don't bully Yutong all the time. Yutong is not a robot. She won't be able to withstand you doing that every night. Qingya said helplessly. Her little sister had already complained to her a few times, but Qingya felt that her little sister was just showing off, so don't blame big sister for tricking you. Donghuang Baiji also smiled. Yi Hua Yutong is still young, and she had just experienced such a thing, let her rest for a while. Qin Yutong hid behind her two big sisters and nodded her head. What Donghuang Baiji said is right. Yi Hua suddenly laughed. You two have also been through this together, so you two should know my habits. Furthermore, don't be tricked by Yutong. She always says that she is having fun every time. Yi Hua felt that it was funny when he thought about that scene. Qin Yutong's face turned red. How is that possible, brother-in-law? Don't speak nonsense. Who is having fun? It is so painful. Oh right, Yutong even asked whether big sister is having fun or she is having fun, whether big sister Baiji is as strong as me. I didn't even say anything. And she already started showing off, saying that I am the strongest, the most important. Qingya, Donghuang Baiji, brother-in-law, don't speak nonsense, big sister Baiji, don't believe him, I definitely didn't say such a thing. Qin Yutong hurriedly explained. Brother-in-law is too bad. When did he say that? He was just vaguely saying it. Qingya and Donghuang Baiji could be seen immediately grabbing onto Qin Yutong and pushing her into Yi Hua's embrace. Donghuang Baiji said faintly, Yi Hua, make do with it first. And if you break it, we will exchange it for a new one. Qingya said gravely, this little fellow is quite showing off. Hearing this, Yi Hua immediately laughed. Exchanging the old for a new one. This is not bad. Hearing this, Yi Hua immediately laughed. Yi Hua, help me teach her a lesson, let her know the consequences of showing off. Qingya said tenderly. Yi Hua, help me teach her a lesson, let her know the consequences of showing off. All right, leave it to me. After finished speaking, Qingya and Donghuang Baiji went to accompany the children. Seeing that the children were about to leave, as a mother, Donghuang Baiji became even more sad. When the door was closed, Qin Yutong's expression instantly changed. Brother-in-law, I know my mistake, hee. Do you think that it will be fine just by admitting your mistake? Yi Hua said coldly. To actually dare to do this, you sure have guts. Brother-in-law sniff, 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 I beg for mercy. Qin Yutong rubbed against Yi Hua's chest with all her might, just like a little kitten. Yi Hua held on to Qin Yutong's exceptionally beautiful face and said lightly, Yutong, tonight, let's change to another place. This can be considered as your punishment. Change to another place? Qin Yutong didn't react in time, but when she saw Yi Hua's evil smile, her entire person didn't feel good. No, don't. Qin Yutong hurriedly ran away, but Yi Hua directly carried her on his shoulder. Qin Yutong hurriedly begged for forgiveness. Brother-in-law, I really can't, I will die. How would we know if we don't try? Yi Hua laughed evilly. Qingya and Donghuang Baiji don't dare to try, but this Qin Yutong, her guts are too big. How can I not teach her a lesson? Brother-in-law, in the future, I promise that I will be obedient and listen to everything you say, okay? Qin Yutong was about to cry. If I knew that it would be like this, I wouldn't have taken revenge on Yi Hua. Even if you shout till your throat breaks, no one will come and save you. Big sister, save me, your husband is going to kill your little sister. Qin Yutong shouted loudly for help. Yi Hua directly threw Qin Yutong onto the big bed. And Qin Yutong was just like a frightened little rabbit, hugging onto the quilt and hiding at a corner, with a look that said, do you want to come over or not? Looking at Qin Yutong's appearance, Yi Hua's fighting spirit was aroused even more. The next day, Yi Hua walked out of the bedroom feeling refreshed, indicating that he had already completed Qingya's task, and that Qin Yutong would not be able to get off the bed for the next few days. Meanwhile, Qin Yutong, who was sleeping on the bed, had a gloomy look on her face. Brother-in-law is simply shameless, ouch, so painful. But it still feels rather good. The days passed by day after day. Looking at the streets that were getting more and more prosperous day by day, Yihua felt gratified in his heart. The population is finally increasing, and the business development is also getting better. This is a good start. Even the housing prices have increased by tens of times. Yihua couldn't help but sigh with emotion. There are people who speculate in real estate everywhere. As for that sect and the 3 countries, everything was quiet. This northern Liang can be considered to be under my control, and I don't plan to bother about those small fries. The next task that I will be doing is to focus on the children. After all, the children were going to be going on a mission soon, and Yihua could tell that Qingye and Donghuang Baiji were very reluctant to part with the children. After sending the children off, Yihua decided to bring his 3 wives out to relax, and at the same time, inspect Aoyuo River. Speaking of Aoyuo River, Yihua only saw it from a history book, and it was just a map. Northern Liang was the northernmost place, and below Northern Liang was Aoyuo River. It was unknown where Aoyuo River's water flowed to, but according to the rumors, Aoyuo River's water possessed a huge corrosive power, and a person who touches it would instantly be corroded. Therefore, Aoyuo River's water was also known as soul water, and no one dared to touch it. However, around Aoyuo River, people worshipped the river god, and Aoyuo River was also a symbol of power. In the area around Aoyuo River, there were a lot of powerful sects and countries. Compared to Northern Liang, that place was just like a provincial city, and Northern Liang was just like a small village. Among the sects, there were 2 that were the most powerful. One was 3 Absolute Palace, and the other was Ren King Prison. Yihua had not seen how they looked like, but after sending the children off, I will bring my wives out to relax. Right now, Yihua was sitting in the children's palace, and he was thinking about some problems. During these few days, Qingye and Donghuang Baiji had been carrying the children, and they had been repeatedly reminding Yihua and showing all kinds of worries. Yihua, where do you want to send Yan and Lu, or to study? Qingye asked curiously while carrying the children. Yihua slightly wrinkled his brows, then said gravely, in the south of Kangluo continent, there are 2 powerful sections. One is called Broken Vein Mountain, and the other is called Shin Academy. The Mountain Master and Dean are both overlords. These 2 sects are very strict when it comes to the selection of disciples. 3 days later, Broken Vein Mountain and Shin Academy will be recruiting disciples. After sending Yan and Lu to Broken Vein Mountain, we will have to go to Shin Academy. Time is a bit tight. The reason why Yihua arranged the children like this, on one hand, was to strengthen their relationship with each other, and on the other hand, it was because Donghuang Li and Yi Yan are too good sometimes, and they don't have the heart to be decisive. Meanwhile, God Yi and Yi Lu weren't worried at all. Thus, the reason why Yihua separated God Yi and Yi Lu from each other was to let them repeatedly remind their big sister and big brother that it's okay to be kind, but being too kind would only bring harm to oneself. End of this chapter. Chapter 796. The 4 children were very excited when they heard about the place they were about to go. After all, there were warlike cells in their blood. When they thought about how they were about to leave the protection of their parents and be able to show off their skills, they were a little excited. Not only did Yihua want the children to learn, he also wanted the children to go to places where people's hearts were complicated. Putting it into practice was the best way to do it. Will it be dangerous? Qingye asked gravely. Although Donghuang Baiji did not ask, her gaze was filled with worry. Don't worry, as long as they go in, their safety is guaranteed. After all, those 2 forces are in the south, and they are the strongest in the Kangluo continent. No one dares to provoke them. Yihua's words gave the 2 wives a shot of confidence. As long as the child can be safe, everything will be fine. We will depart 3 days later. At that time, Baiji and I will go and send Ali and God Yi off. Qingye, you and Yutong will go and send Yi Yan and Yi Lu off. Let's split up. If not, we won't be able to make it in time. After all, we only have 1 day. Yihua said faintly. Qingye and Donghuang Baiji nodded their heads and listened to their husbands' arrangements. During these 3 days, Yihua, Qingye, and Donghuang Baiji accompanied the children to play. This time, when the children went out, They would no longer be able to accompany them in their so-called childhood. What was waiting for them was a life of study. It was a bright and sunny day, and the blizzard had stopped. The four little fellows had already finished their preparations. They didn't bring any heavy baggage, and they didn't bring anything. Yi Hua, who was standing at the side, felt very reluctant in his heart, but he did not show it. However, the eyes of his three women were all swollen from crying, and even Qing Yutong was the same. After all, Qing Yutong had also watched the children grow up, and right now, the children were about to leave just like that. And Qing Yutong was very reluctant to part with them. Although the four children were given birth by Qingye and Donghuang Baiji separately, in their eyes, there was no difference between them. All of them would call Donghuang Baiji and Donghuang Baiji. Just look at how Qingye is crying while hugging onto Donghuang Li. Donghuang Baiji hugged onto Yiyan and cried loudly. Donghuang Baiji looked as if she was going to be separated by life and death. Yi Hua didn't really like this kind of scene. Thus, he slowly walked to the side and looked far away. As a man, Yi Hua hid his weak side very well. After all, these were all his own flesh and blood. Who wouldn't feel heartache for them? Making this kind of decision, I am also very sad, but I have no choice but to do it. Brother, Yi Lu called out softly. God Yi looked at his sister and smiled. What's wrong? Luer. The next time we meet, we will be opponents. I hope big brother won't disappoint little sister. God Yi knew what Yi Lu meant. There would be a competition between Meridian Break Sect and Shun Institution. And it was a competition between the disciples with the most potential. God Yi and Yi Lu were very confident, so they would meet as opponents. However, by that time they should have already grown up. Luer, I won't go easy on you. God Yi chuckled. He was looking forward to competing with his sister. As for the others? Forget it then. None of us are a match for him. All right, it's a deal. Yi Lu walked forward after saying that and hugged God Yi gently. The corner of God Yi's mouth curled up into a smile. He hugged his sister tightly and said slowly, I'm not by your side. Take good care of yourself. Yes, you too, brother, Yi Lu said in a low voice. The brother and sister had been together for 5 years. Although they weren't blood-related, they felt closer to each other than blood-related. Now that they were going to be separated, they were naturally reluctant. This is only the relationship between brother and sister. Donghuang Li was also hugging her little brother, Yiyan. In the future, big sister won't be able to bring you along to act cool anymore. After I bring you along, you have to properly act cool by yourself. Don't embarrass big sister. Donghuang Li said attentively. Yiyan's nose was a bit sour. After I was born, I have been following my big sister around. Even my parents didn't spend as much time with my big sister. And now, I am going to be separated. Daddy, Mommy, can Yin cry? Yiyan asked weakly. Hearing that, Yi Hua let out a breath. I can. Wap Yiyan immediately started crying loudly in Donghuang Li's embrace. Even God Yi and Yi Lu were letting out soft sobbing sounds. Yi Hua's 3 wives were also sobbing silently. Only Yi Hua was quietly watching on, and his mood was a bit bad. Looking at the time, it's about time. All right, let's go our separate ways. Yi Hua walked forward and said gravely, Daddy, hug. The 4 children stretched out their hands and looked at their father with longing. Looking at his adorable children, no matter how strong Yi Hua was right now, his eyes couldn't help but become a bit moist. Slightly squatting down, Yi Hua carried the 4 children into his embrace and said attentively, Study properly, Daddy and Mommy are proud of you all. And Daddy, we understand. Yi Hua nodded his head, and his gaze became firm once again. Qingye, Yutong, let's go our separate ways. Qingye nodded her head. The 4 children gradually separated from each other. The separation now was for the reunion in the future. Carrying reluctance, the 4 children disappeared from where they were standing. Broken Vein Sect was located at the south of Kangluo continent. Broken Vein Sect was formed by endless mountain ranges. However, there were faults in between the mountain ranges, which was why it was called Broken Vein Sect. In actuality, Broken Vein Sect was more like a big country. The area that it occupied was very big, and it was even bigger than the entire northern Liang. Broken Vein Sect was divided into 2 sections. The main sect was naturally the true Broken Vein Sect. and the secondary sect was naturally much worse than the main sect. However, the disciples of the secondary sect would still try their best to enter the main sect. Within these broken veins, every mountain range had its own name, and the mountain range that Yihua and Donghuang Baiji came to was called Jade Vein. Jade Vein was below the secondary sect, and only disciples with extremely high talent could enter the secondary sect, and the secondary sect would then select disciples to enter the main sect. Yihua hoped that the children would be able to train themselves at the lowest level. At the foot of Jade Vein Mountain. Wow, there are so many people. Dong Huangli gradually got rid of the sadness of parting, and looked at the things in front of her. The foot of Jade Vein Mountain wasn't as luxurious as she imagined it to be. It was just an ordinary small village. However, this small village was already packed with people. All of them had brought their children here because they heard of Jade Vein Mountain's fame. There were royalty and nobles, and there were also ordinary commoners. Meanwhile, those 4 and 5 years old children were all very confused and even a bit scared. How could they be as calm as Donghuang Li and Gadyi? Ali, don't run around. Yihua shouted out. Oh, Yihua held onto Donghuang Baiji's delicate hand, and Donghuang Baiji held onto her son Gadyi. Donghuang Li walked over and held onto her father's hand. The next time I see my father, I will have already grown up. Thinking about it, I am really looking forward to it. The appearance of this family of 4 immediately attracted everyone's attention, especially that woman. How can there be such a beautiful woman in this world? Perhaps it was because of the reluctance that Donghuang Baiji revealed that made people feel even more heartbroken, as if they were suffering from domestic violence. Yihua first took the number plate, then followed the group up the mountain. From time to time, parents could be seen bringing their children down the mountain. Every single child would be crying for their parents. This time, Jade Vein's recruitment is different from before. What's going on? Why is it different? I heard that the combat disciple will personally test the recruitment. End of chapter. Chapter 797. What? Fighting disciple. Our child is still so young. That's right. What kind of rules are these? They're simply fooling around. Hearing the discussions at the side, Yihua knew that there was a benefit to choosing a student this way. The main point was not to look at the student's ability to win against a fighter, but rather, it was to look at the student's talent. Yihua said in a low voice, Ali Gadyi, please restrain yourself later. Yes, I know, Dad. Although Yihua's voice was very soft, it was still heard by the people in front and behind him. At the same time, he thought to himself, this person really knows how to act tough. To ask such a young child to show mercy, it would be good if other Do fighters showed mercy. Dong Huangli was still very interested. However, Gadyi, who was at the side, had a stern look on his face. He wasn't interested at all. He's too weak. Only a Do disciple. Playing with the Dozong was fine. Seeing that Donghuang Baiji was unhappy, Yihua lightly kissed onto his wife's cheek. Alright, don't be too sad. Yihua's movements seemed very normal, but in the eyes of these people it was different. In the Kangluo continent, it was no different from the ancient times. It was a complete loss of morals. Furthermore, you kissed such a beautiful woman in front of us. This was intolerable. Even if she's your wife, you can't act like this. If this wasn't the foot of the Jade Mountain, I would definitely kill him. I hate men who put on airs like this the most. So what if you have a beautiful wife? Look at how cocky he is. I want to stamp a shoe on his face. Ali. Donghuang Baiji called out gently. Mom. Donghuang Li stretched out her hand and held onto her mother's hand. Yihua shook his head. Seems like Donghuang Baiji is a little angry. The speed of the procession was very fast, and so were the people going down the mountain. Most of them were bringing their children down the mountain. It seemed that the proportion was very high. Gradually, Yihua finally arrived at the platform in front of the Jade Vein Peak. Behind the platform was a huge signboard. Jade Vein Peak. The 3 large words carried with them a powerful pressure. With one look, one could tell that it was not an ordinary item. It must have been written by an expert. As long as they could step through the gates of Jade Vein Peak, they would bring honor to their ancestors. At least, that was what everyone thought. There were 3 old men sitting on the high platform, silently watching the scene. In the field, a 10-year-old child was competing with a 5-year-old child who was a bit shorter. To be precise, it wasn't a contest. Before the fight even started, the 5-year-old child was scared to tears. Then it was the next one. The strength of a Do disciple standing in front of the children was very frightening. This was reasonable, but the requirements to enter the sect were indeed much higher. In the past, it was only a test of talent. Yihua looked at the children who were crying and leaving one by one, then shook his head. I'm afraid that I won't be able to receive more than a few children in a day, right? Very soon, they arrived at Yihua's house. Which one of you wants to go first? Yihua asked lightly. His calm demeanor made people feel that his child could easily win. Why would he ask who would go first? His opponent was a 10-year-old fighter. It was terrifying. Sis, you go first, Godyi said calmly. Dong Huangli spread out her hands. All right, big sister will give you an example. Everyone. This girl was quite pretty, but why did she like to brag? Even the 3 old men sitting on the high platform paused for a moment. This girl was a little interesting. They didn't know if she had any real skills or not. Dong Huangli directly walked towards the platform and looked at the boy who was in front of her. While looking at Dong Huangli, the young man's face was a bit red. What a beautiful girl. It seems like in the entire Jade Vein Peak, there isn't another girl like her. She is even more beautiful than a celebrity. That's right. The 10-year-old genius fighter Mu Gao was someone who had been reborn. His golden finger was unknown. Dong Huangli sized up the boy in front of her, then said faintly, Come on, don't look at me like an idiot. No matter how much you look at me, I won't be yours. Mu Gao. Hearing Dong Huangli's words, Dong Huangli felt that Dong Huangli was really hot. Dong Huangli, I can't afford to offend her. This girl isn't bad. She isn't afraid in front of Mu Gao, said an old man on the platform. Yeah, looks like he's quite something. Actually, you just have to look at your parents to know whether or not you have any material. The 3 elders nodded their heads. From Yihua and Dong Huangbaiji's looks, it can be seen that this girl is definitely someone with great potential. Mu Gao cupped his hands towards Dong Huangli. Dong Huangli had no choice but to follow Mu Gao and cupped her hands towards Mu Gao. Be careful, Mu Gao said in a deep voice. Dong Huangli laughed lightly. The one who should be careful should be you. Right after Dong Huangli finished speaking, Dong Huangli's delicate body disappeared. Afterward, Mu Gao felt a stifling sound coming from his chest, and he was forced to take a few steps back. The entire audience became deathly silent. This girl actually pushed down a fighter. How is this possible? The 3 elders on the viewing platform suddenly stood up and mumbled. This girl actually has the strength of a fighter. How is this possible? In the entire Kangluo continent, such a thing has never happened before. However, such a thing happened in front of their eyes. This made the 3 elders feel as if they were dreaming. Mu Gao looked at Dong Huangli, who was on the stage, blankly, and was a bit absent-minded. I actually lost to a girl. She is so formidable. Yihua shook his head and told Ali to keep a low profile, but in the end, just who did she learn from? She just likes to act cool. Godyi, don't learn from your sister. Yihua warned. All right. Dong Huangli. Pass. Along with an elder's announcement, Dong Huangli could be considered to have passed. Dong Huangli bowed towards the surrounding audience and thanked them. This is too easy, so boring. If only Yen was here, I would be able to act cool together with my big sister. I would be so happy. An elder could be seen walking over and said with a smile. The 2 of you must be Dong Huangli's parents, right? Yihua nodded his head. Dong Huangbaiji held onto her daughter's hand with a look of reluctance on her face. The 2 of you can be at ease. We have a family visit day every year, and you can come into the sect to see your child. You don't have to worry about your safety. No one will dare to cause trouble in Meridian Break sect. After hearing that, Dong Huangbaiji became happy, then said in a low voice, I will leave my child in your hands then. Don't worry, Dong Huangli is a good seedling. We will definitely focus on nurturing her. The elder said with a slight smile. He felt that Dong Huangli would definitely enter the sect in the future. Little brother, what are you still standing there for? Go. Dong Huangli looked at Godyi and shouted out. The elder immediately became confused. You want your son as well? That's right, Yihua said faintly. Looking at Godyi, the elder felt that this child is probably only around 5 years old, right? This is his big sister. It seems like his little brother won't be too far off either. Jade Meridian Peak's luck is pretty good today, to be able to find 2 rising stars. However, I still have to give it a try first. Godya's expression remained unchanged as he walked onto the stage. Mu Gao stabilized the aura within his body, then walked onto the stage at the same time. However, Godyi did not feel anything at all. This action of Godyi caused everyone to be stupefied. The big sister is so formidable, but why is the little brother so monstrous as well? The expressions of the 3 elders immediately became strange. This was a kind of shock. End of this chapter. Chapter 798. Because Godyi was only 5 years old. A 5-year-old was actually able to face the aura released by a fighter. Never seen before. In fact, the 3 elders just wanted to see how long the child could last under the aura of a fighter before accepting him. Mu Gao's gaze gradually became serious. This boy who is half my age is very powerful. Although I don't know how powerful he is, Mu Gao feels that he is very powerful. Admit defeat, you are not my opponent, Godyi said faintly. Dong Huangli was stunned. Since when did my own younger brother learn to act so pretentiously? He is even more powerful than Yan. Dong Huang Baiji said. Look, the children are all learning from you. Yihua was speechless. When everyone heard Godya's words, they were all confused. The older sister is powerful, but the younger brother is also powerful? Could it be that everyone in this family was awesome? Will you die if you don't brag? Mu Gao felt that he was an expert, the youngest expert in the entire Jade Vein Peak. Although he is that big sister's younger brother, it is time for him to show his strength. The one who should admit defeat is you. Watch my fist. Mu Gao roared. The aura of a fighter exploded, raising a cloud of dust. However, Godyi looked at Mu Gao coldly. You don't know what's good for you. Godyi took a step forward and shouted. Boom. The aura of a fighter exploded, and Mu Gao, who was rushing over, was instantly blown away, knocked onto the stairs and fainted. At that moment, the entire Jade Vein Peak was silent. Yihua shook his head. Dong Huang Baiji stretched out her hand and pinched her husband. Look at what you have taught the children. Dong Huangli felt that there was hope. I didn't expect that Ice Brother also likes to act cool. It can't be helped, acting cool is hereditary. The 3 elders on the viewing platform didn't know what to say. A 5-year-old fighter. Am I blind or what? Did you pass? Godyi raised his head and asked faintly. One of the elders immediately said, Passed. Passed. The people who were waiting in the queue couldn't believe it. This pair of siblings both passed, so powerful. Godyi slowly walked back, as if it was just a small matter. Yihua patted his son's head. This little fellow really opened my eyes today. Dong Huangli stood beside her brother and said, Godyi. Big sister, what is it? Godyi asked softly, his tone was much gentler. In the future, big sister will bring you along to act cool. Dong Huangli said with a smile. Godyi said helplessly, Sister, I don't like to act cool. I don't know what acting cool is either. Dong Huangli stared blankly at her younger brother. Your pretentiousness has reached such a level that even big sister can't compare to you. Yihua and Dong Huang Baiji both laughed. What Godyi said isn't wrong at all. You have to listen to me. There's no room for negotiation. Sis. Godyi knew it would be like this. It was a real headache, but he still had to listen to his sister's words. Dong Huang Baiji squatted down and lightly hugged the children. Mommy won't be by your side. You two have to take care of each other. Do you understand? Godyi, you have to protect your sister. Ali, you too. Don't let your brother be bullied. Yes, Mom and Dad, don't worry. I will definitely protect my little brother. I will protect my sister as well. Yihua nodded his head. This is my good child. Go on, study well. Dong Huangli held onto Godya's hand, then waved towards her parents. Dad, Mom, Ali will miss you too. I will miss Dad and Mom too. Yihua and Dong Huang Baiji sent off the children with their eyes as they walked into the Jade Vein Peak. Donghuang Baiji immediately snuggled into Yihua's embrace and started crying. All of the parents present were able to understand Donghuang Baiji's feelings. Yihua comforted Donghuang Baiji lightly, then let out a light sigh. After supporting Donghuang Baiji down the mountain, they went to a place where there was no one around and disappeared. Yihua was preparing to go and see how Qinya was doing. The deity institution was different from Broken Meridian sect. The deity institution was located in Minglan communal country, and it was the most unique existence in the entire Kangluo continent. However, the Radiant Mist communal country was also the largest country in the entire Kangluo continent. Yihua sent a message to Qinya, and after knowing that the exam was still going on, he decided to bring the pitiful Donghuang Baiji over. Baiji, don't cry. Look at the surrounding people's gazes. It seems like I am bullying you. Yihua felt dizzy. You still haven't bullied me? Yihua? Whoa. Donghuang Baiji lightly pounded on Yihua's chest, as if she was massaging him. Yihua said tenderly, "All right, my darling, I beg you, can you do it?" "Well, you can call me Little Fairy then." Yihua. Baiji, you are already the mother of 2 children, and you still want to call me Little Fairy? Are you trying to make me laugh to death? Yihua was truly amused by his wife. Little Fairy, ha ha ha. This is too funny. Seeing that her husband was actually laughing at her, Donghuang Baiji snorted, then walked forward by herself. Upon seeing that, Yihua immediately pulled his wife into his embrace. Little Fairy, don't be angry anymore, all right? I don't want to talk to you anymore, Donghuang Baiji said angrily. Seeing that his wife's mood became a lot better, Yihua became slightly relieved. Looking at the surrounding buildings, he asked, "Do you think our territory is better or this place?" Donghuang Baiji gradually calmed down and said tenderly, "This place is filled with a simple and unadorned aura. Our territory is just like a newborn that lacks time to sink." Yihua nodded his head. Some things cannot be settled with money, they need to be polished with time. Very quickly, the husband and wife arrived at the recruitment location. Brother-in-law over here. Qing Yutong could be seen standing at the entrance and waving her hand as she shouted. Looking at the lively Qing Yutong, Yihua directly held on to her little hand, then walked into the examination hall of Deity Academy. Outside the examination hall, there were many parents who were waiting anxiously. Qingya. Yihua immediately saw Qingya, who was waiting anxiously. Yihua. Qingya hurriedly walked over and lightly snuggled into her husband's embrace. The surrounding men seemed to be about to spit fire. Just now, I felt that it was strange. Why aren't there any men beside those 2 beauties, but there are children beside them? Look at this. This man is holding on to one with each hand, and he is even hugging onto another. If this isn't showing off, then what is he doing? I have never seen such a shameless person. To actually have 3 such beautiful wives. This is simply illogical. Yihua asked lightly, "Where are Yenner and Lu Er?" "They have already entered the examination hall," Qingya said lightly. Qingya was very nervous in her heart, not knowing if her children would be able to pass the examination. "Brother-in-law, have Ali and Gadyi passed the examination?" Qing Yutong asked curiously. "And they have all passed the examination, so we came over rather quickly," Yihua said. Donghuang Baiji asked curiously, "Over there, they are competing in martial strength. What is Qingya competing in here?" Qingya said worriedly, "I heard from them that they seem to be competing in willpower, but I don't know what it is. All of them have entered a small room by themselves, and their results will be displayed on the stone tablet." End of this chapter. Chapter 799. Yihua looked towards the stone tablet. On the stone tablet, there were around 100 names, but Yi Yan and Yi Lu's names were nowhere to be seen. "Qingya, don't worry," Yihua consoled, who knew that Qingya would say angrily, "These 2 little fellows, if they don't get a good result today, see how I'm going to take care of them. It's not even on the list yet." Qing Yutong spread out her hands. Big sister is not worried about the separation at all, rather, she is worried about the children not doing well in the exam. Yihua thought that Qingya was feeling sad, but who would have thought that she was actually worried about her results? All of Baiji's children had passed the exam. If her children failed, it would be so shameful. It would be strange if Qinya wasn't anxious. Qinya, don't be anxious. Yen'er and Lu are so smart, they will definitely be able to pass the exam. Donghuang Baiji walked up and consoled Qinya. Yihua straightforwardly leaned on the side and carried Qin Yutong into his embrace. He wasn't worried about his own child in the slightest. They are definitely pondering over this matter, and I will be able to see the results in a while. However, Yihua's actions once again caused the men to spit out fire. He is actually hugging one of his wives and leaning on the side, while the other two wives are talking. I have seen dissolute men before, but I have never seen such a dissolute man before. How did these beauties fall for this kind of man? Suddenly, the black stone tablet flashed, and the golden words slowly shifted. Qinya stared fixedly at the stone tablet while grabbing onto Donghuang Baiji's hand. Looking at Donghuang Baiji's expression, it seems like Donghuang Baiji's hand is in pain. They're out. We're out. Qinya shouted excitedly. He's out? This sentence is so confusing. Yihua looked towards the stele. Right now, Yi Yan and Yi Lu appeared at the lowest position of the stele. As long as their names appeared on the stone tablet, they would be accepted. This was only the beginning. Yi Yan's and Yi Lu's names suddenly rose like a rocket. Alma Yen'er and Lu are good job. Qinya shouted out excitedly. Actually, this was also Yi Yan and Yi Lu's first time taking an exam, so it was normal for Qinya to have such a reaction. In the blink of an eye, Yi Yan and Yi Lu's names appeared at the top. The first and second place were occupied by the two little fellows. However, the crowd discovered that the first and second place alternated, as if they were fighting for the first place. Donghuang Baiji could be heard saying lightly, Yen'er is pretty good. You play with Ali every day, but I didn't expect that your martial arts didn't fall behind in the slightest. After hearing what Yihua said, a trace of a smile appeared on the corner of Yihua's mouth. Could it be that my child would be bad? My child is born to be a cheat. There is no need for any explanation. When everyone saw that the first two were both surnamed Yi, they were all very surprised. The third place could not be shaken at all. Was the steel broken? After a long time, the infernal judge finally appeared. The examination has ended. Yi Yan's name was at the top, and Yi Lu was second. The two little fellows appeared very quickly. Yi Yan had a confident smile on his face, while Yi Lu seemed very normal, with a cold and arrogant aura. He did not feel much about the second place result. It was normal for his brother to be stronger than him. Lu Yi Yan called out with a smile. Yi Lu called out obediently, brother. Yi Yan patted his sister's shoulder. In the future, I'll protect you and bring you along to show off. Brother, Lu knows how to act tough herself. Yi Yan, how can I do that? When we are outside, the eldest brother is like a father. You have to listen to me. Yi Yan held onto his sister's hand and walked towards his parents with large strides. Yi Lu had a gloomy look on her face. Who asked me to have such a biological brother? I still have to listen to my brother. Daddy, Mommy, Yen'er and little sister didn't lose face for you too, right? The two of you are great. Mommy loves the two of you to death. Qinya squatted down and kissed onto the cheeks of the two children. Yihua let go of Qin Yutong and walked over slowly. Yen'er, Lu, study hard in the future, all right? Daddy, we understand. Sensing that the children were about to leave her, Qinya's expression immediately became bad. Immediately, Qinya hugged onto her children and cried softly. Children who are on the list, please follow me. Parents, please stop. The infernal judge shouted out again. Mommy, we have to go. Yi Yan said reluctantly. Qinya let go of her children reluctantly. Take good care of little sister, all right? And Mommy, don't worry, Yen'er will definitely take good care of little sister. After Yi Yan finished speaking, he patted onto Yi Lu's head. Yi Lu said obediently, Mommy, don't worry about us. Take good care of yourself. And Mommy will miss you too. The two little fellows kissed onto their mother's cheeks, then shouted out towards their father. Daddy, we won't disappoint you. With a smile on his face, Yihua nodded his head. I look forward to your performance. Yi Yan held onto Yi Lu's hand and waved his hand, then left with the infernal judge along with the other children. Seeing that the children had left, Qinya immediately pounced onto Yihua's embrace and cried bitterly, just like how Donghuang Baiji did just now. Big sister, they will be able to take good care of themselves. Qing Yutong consoled Donghuang Baiji in a low voice. However, when Qingya cried like that, Donghuang Baiji also thought of her own children, and thus she also cried into Yihua's embrace. Meanwhile, Qing Yutong was also infected by the atmosphere and started crying as well. The three beautiful women all leaned onto Yihua's embrace and cried bitterly. Yihua was also very helpless. I didn't want to flaunt, it was them who forced me to flaunt. I, the supreme overlord, feel disdain to flaunt my love. Brat, I have long been sick of you. A man could be seen standing out with a righteous expression. Yihua remained silent. As a man, you actually bully a woman, Before the man could finish speaking, the three women in Yihua's embrace could be seen shouting out in unison. What does it have to do with you? I just like to cry, so what if I like to cry? The man went into a daze for a moment, then turned around and left. I can't afford to offend them. Yihua consoled. All right, calm down. Let's go out and take a stroll, alright? Let's go and buy some delicious food. 3 fairies? Qingya hammered Yihua. What fairies? Do you think we are little girls? What fairies? I am getting goosebumps just by hearing that. Yihua couldn't help but laugh. Baiji, did you hear that? I am getting goosebumps just by hearing that. Donghuang Baiji's tears turned into laughter. Annoying. So what if you call me fairies? I like being a fairies the most. The husband and wife walked out of the examination hall while laughing. Only by walking out of the examination hall would they be able to relax a bit and not think about their children. The four strolled around bright miscommunal country for a while, and Yihua was also reminiscing about the past. Back then, I also clamored outside of bright miscommunal country. I didn't expect that I would have the chance to come in and take a look. Interesting. I wonder if those old friends of mine are doing well. How about we go to Aoyuo River to play? Yihua said lightly. This was also something that he had planned out beforehand. After sending off the children, it was time for him to do his own things. The 3 wives were naturally obedient to Yihua. The 4 found a place with no one around, then instantly arrived at Aoyuo River. Qing Yutong left Yihua's embrace, then opened up her arms and shouted out, "Wow, the air here is really good." End of chapter. Chapter 800. The 4 of them stood on a plateau. Not far away from them was the legendary Aoyuo River. The water surged endlessly. However, a burst of cursing broke this quiet scene. "Brother-in-law, quickly come and look, there are people fighting over there." Qing Yutong was the first to see, and at the side of Aoyuo River, there was a group of people bullying a person. Qingya took a glare at her little sister. "Yutong, why are you still calling brother-in-law, brother-in-law? Can't you call husband?" "Big sister, aren't I already used to calling you that, and I can't change it?" Qing Yutong pouted her mouth. "I only have this little bit of excitement, and I have to exploit it as well." "You." Qingya was angered quite badly. Yihua lightly hugged onto Qingya. "All right, Qingya, let her do as she pleases." "Are you really going to spoil her like this?" Qingya said petulantly. Yihua pinched onto Qingya's little butt. "Didn't I spoil you too? The 2 of you. Can you stop acting so flirtatiously? It's still broad daylight." Donghuang Baiji, who was standing at the back, said. Yihua turned his head around and said with a smile, "Baiji, it's not like we haven't done it before in broad daylight. Brother-in-law, quickly come over." Qing Yutong immediately flew over, and she was truly like a heroine. The 3 of them shook their heads and followed him at a moderate pace. At the Aoyuo River, more than 10 youths were chasing a man. "Don't let Wani escape. Today we're going to throw him into the Aoyuo River." The young man behind them had an ominous glint in his eyes. It didn't seem like he was joking. The young man running in front was quite handsome, but his handsome face was solemn. "Are you guys sick? All I did was sleep with Oiran Queen. Is there a need to be so inhumane?" Wani bellowed at the people behind him. These were a group of second-generation rich kids from the Azure Dragon Empire. Because Wani had won the bid last night, these people were not convinced, so they tied Wani up in the morning and prepared to throw him into the Aoyuo River. F***ck. You still have the cheek to say that. Everyone kill him. Perhaps it was because his body was weak and he was gradually being caught up. However, at this moment, a rainbow light descended from the sky and landed between the two sides. What if I accidentally fall? And the 10+ youngsters also stopped their footsteps, then looked at the fairy in front of them dumbfoundedly. So beautiful. Is this a fairy that has descended to the mortal world? Qin Yutong stroked her delicate hands and looked at the 10+ youngsters in front of her. To actually bully a single person, if you have the ability, then fight me one-on-one. Just when Qin Yutong was about to open her mouth to lecture them, the 10+ people in front of her all knelt down with a plop. Qin Yutong was stupefied. Fairy sister, please accept our worship. More than 10 people stood up and shouted, Fairy sister. Qin Yutong's expression eased up quite a bit. At least you two have good eyesight. All of you get up. Qin Yutong said faintly, and she gave off a very fairy feeling. Thank you, fairy sister. At this moment, Wani also hurriedly crawled up, then kneeled in front of Qin Yutong and cried out, Big sister fairy, save me ah, they are taking advantage of their numbers to beat me up. Bullying with numbers, this is the natural order of things. Qin Yutong said slowly. Wani, weren't they here to save him? Why, fairy sister is right. The dozen or so young people were happy when they heard that. It turned out that they were not here to save Wan Yexiao. Qin Yutong said faintly, so you two can fight one-on-one, I will be the judge. Wani felt that it was better for him to run away. This fairy is here to harm me. At this moment, Yihua brought Qingye and Donghuang Baiji down from the sky. The moment the three of them arrived, they immediately let out a strange aura. Seeing that something was wrong, the dozen or so young people immediately broke into a run, wishing that they could grow another leg in the middle. These women are indeed good-looking, but that man is very fierce. If you want to run away, or even want to call those people back, please bring me along. I beg of you all. Yutong, what are you doing? Yihua asked gravely. Yutong is good at everything, just that she likes to play with Yizizi. Qin Yutong pouted her mouth and stood at the side, not saying anything. Qingye knocked on her little sister's forehead. Originally, I thought that as a wife, my little sister should be able to calm down a bit, but who knew that it was completely useless, not calm at all, and even act like a child. Only Yihua is able to endure it. To be more precise, he is able to cure it. Big brother, can I leave now? Wani asked carefully. These four people don't seem to be easy to mess with. Yihua took a look at Wani and felt a bit puzzled. This young man actually has the strength of a dodosher, and just now he was actually chased by a group of ordinary people. This is a bit interesting, he is even hiding his strength. No. Yihua said faintly. Wani immediately put on a long face and asked carefully, Big brother, if you want to rape me, I will definitely refuse. The corner of Yihua's mouth twitched. My 3 wives are all as beautiful as goddesses, and you still want to rape me? Is your brain filled with muddy water from Aluo River? Big brother, I was just joking. Since we are fated to meet today, how about letting me invite big brother and sister-in-law to go sightseeing in the city? Wani said hurriedly, then waited vigilantly. Why didn't Wani run away? Was it because he saw that the heads of the 4 people were filled with? Just now, Wani felt that the system was broken. For a person to actually dare to have a question mark in his combat strength, could there be a bug in the system? However, after going through the system's verification, all of the functions of the system are normal. This means that the combat strength of the 4 people in front of me is unable to be determined. What the hell is this? It seemed that the system would not admit that it had an accident, just like how a drunk person would not admit that they were drunk. What if it was also a system? What if it was a plug-in system? It could be leveled up without doing any work. All it had to do was hack. It was a system specially made for lazy people. It would be awesome. I am only 18 years old this year, which means that I am a dodosher. If news of this were to spread, it would definitely shake the entire Kangluo continent. However, if I were to keep a low profile and something were to happen, it would be game over. Just like today, there were suddenly 4 of them. Wasn't that scary? I was so scared that I almost sh*t myself. But at least I got to f*ck myself last night, and was even defeated by Hua Kuei. My life wasn't in vain. All right. Yihua said faintly. I'd like to see what kind of trick you're playing. Wani felt as if he had been reborn, and hurriedly led the way. Big brother, this is your first time coming to Azure Dragon Empire, right? Wani asked curiously. Yihua said faintly yes. What if I guessed in my heart that this person isn't a spy, right? But even if this person is a spy, I don't have one myself. What a big question. I can't win against him. I can't win against him. Big brother, are you here to play? You talk a lot. Yihua said gravely. He still wanted to get more information out of Wani. If Wani didn't speak, he would be afraid of angering this question mark brother. System, please don't deceive me. Yihua took a look at his experience bar. Rank 3 to sure, his hack experience bar is already half full. End of this chapter. Chapter 801. As long as I continue to eat and drink, I will be able to become a Do Emperor. Who else can be more awesome than me? This is what is called true wretched development. Fortunately, there is still a carriage. This carriage was brought by Wani, while the others were all riding on horses. Brother ? Please get on the carriage. Wani shouted respectfully. Yihua took a look at Wani puzzledly. Brother ? This fellow sure has guts. Yihua did not pay attention to him. He first carried his wives onto the carriage, then got on the carriage himself. Outside, the three wives became like ordinary people, and being taken care of by Yihua. This will give me a kind of blissful feeling. Wani is sitting at the front of the carriage, and is currently trying to figure out the 4 question marks on the carriage. Could it be that they also have a system? And are they the early stage? Impossible, I am the main character. How can I possibly meet other main characters? This is too fake. They should be experts that came from other places. That's right. As the main character, they definitely have a strong backer. This should be a welfare agency that allows me to have a good relationship with the big shots. Thinking up to here, Wani calmed down. Treat them well. It will be helpful to me in the future. Being the main character is so annoying. I don't dare to say that I am outstanding. Qing Yutong, who was in the carriage, was currently communicating with her system. Master, I sense that the man in front has a system, but that is a rather outdated system. It belongs to the category of obsolete products. All obsolete products? Then what kind of product do you have now? Qing Yutong asked curiously. Thanks to Master, the version of the system that I am currently using is the most advanced, and it is also one of the best in the system world. Then I can be at ease. Qing Yutong was relieved. Master, the current state of your body can still be developed. Master, please continue to stay in the same room with the male master. The system discovered that every time after, Master's body will become more perfect. Go to hell, brother-in-law and I are truly in love with each other. You are making me sound like a bad woman. Qing Yutong snorted in her heart. Master, by absorbing the essence of the male master, you will become more and more beautiful. The system will not lie to you. Hee, do you think that I will believe you? Qing Yutong said in disdain. However, she was thinking in her heart, ever since I did that with brother-in-law, I feel that my skin has become even better and even more beautiful. This damned beauty was taken advantage of by brother-in-law. Master, your achievements are my achievements. Every time there's a new version, there are all kinds of good things. Master hasn't been to the market in a long time, and now everything in the market is free to try out. Although it can't compare to Master's treasures, it's still a rare treasure. Little sister system, I realize that you're especially talkative today. What's the situation? Teacher, please explain. Master, I realize that there are many system users in this world. Some systems can even devour others, so I hope that Master can be careful. Qing Yutong paused for a moment. A lot of system users? The system had never said something like that before. Alright, I got it. Master, absorb more of the male master's essence. Good luck, Scram. Qing Yutong couldn't help but blush. Wasn't it enough during this period of time? Brother-in-law had already played with me all over. He is so naughty. But it was so exciting. After 2 hours, they finally arrived at the Azure Dragon Empire. Big brother, we have reached the outskirts of the city. Wani, who was driving the carriage, shouted. Yihua took a look at it. It's just ordinary, there's nothing special about it. Compared to Bright Mist Communal Empire, Azure Dragon Empire is quite lacking. In actuality, Azure Dragon Empire's city wall is also very tall, but compared to Voidless Empire's city wall, Azure Dragon Empire's city wall is still quite a bit shorter. Most importantly, Voidless Empire's city wall is pitch black. Qinya and the others were the same. After seeing Voidless Empire's city wall and seeing this city wall, they completely lost interest. Big brother, we have arrived. Wani greeted carefully. These are 4 great gods. They might be big shots of some power. Yihua brought along his wives and carried them down the carriage one by one. This made Wani extremely envious. As the main character, I still haven't gone out to train yet. After I go out to train, I will definitely meet all kinds of beauties. Then, I will become some ancient emperor and dominate the entire world, living a free and unfettered life. Isn't that wonderful? It's so good to have a system. It's so good to have a system. It's a must-have item to walk towards the pinnacle of one's life. Big brother, are you hungry? This Azure Dragon Empire's Huaman Lu's food is not bad. Wani smiled obsequiously at the side. By smiling obsequiously now, a great future awaits me in the future. This time, Yihua didn't just come out to play, he also wanted to take a look at 3 Despair Palace and Benevolent King Prison. Eat and wait, is there anything fun to do there? Yihua asked faintly. Speaking of fun, Wani was talking about Grandmaster level. Big brother, are you interested in the sparring field? Wani asked. Sure, let's go and take a look. Yihua felt that the sparring field was a place where he could gather information. Big brother, follow me. Yihua brought along his 3 wives and walked in the Azure Dragon Empire. The appearance of 3 such beauties instantly spread out. One must know that the appearance of the 3 women was not something that a person from the underworld could have. Just by looking at the 3 women, one would be drunk. Qinya and the others didn't seem to like this kind of feeling. Their appearance was for their husbands to admire. Thus, all of them bought a piece of veil and wore it. Even Qing Yutong was the same. After wearing the veil, it added even more of a mysterious beauty to it. Yihua really wanted to see what was underneath the veil. Yihua had no choice, he just wanted to see the envious eyes of other men. In the end, after his wives wore the veil, it was gone however. Yihua knew what they meant, they were truly thinking for me. Now that I have sent the children away, it is time for me to have a quartet. Just thinking about it makes me a little excited. Yihua sighed with emotion. Right now, the person who is able to make me feel excited is actually my wife. Everyone quickly arrived at the martial arts arena. It was almost the size of a football field, but it was a little smaller. What if he was a nouveau riche, so he arranged a VIP seat. The so-called VIP seats were on the steps surrounding the stage. There were tables and stools for them to drink and watch the fight. The ordinary seats below were much lower class. Under Wan Yi's guidance, they walked up the stairs to the top floor. They found a table and sat down. The view was not bad. There were 2 men dueling in the field. They couldn't even be considered fighters, and they were only using their physical bodies to fight. Boring. Qing Yutong muttered, then leaned onto Yihua's shoulder and pouted. Yihua lightly stroked onto Qing Yutong's beautiful hair. Have a seat first before we leave. Brother, do you want some appetizers and wine? Have some. Yihua said faintly. If Wani hurriedly went to prepare, it would mean that Wani was completely treating Yihua as a thigh and would serve him well. However, the man who was sitting at the table beside Yihua paused for a moment. Why do I feel that this voice is so familiar? That's right. This is the 4th prince who is currently on the run, Feng Yun. End of this chapter. Chapter 802. After losing the battle, Feng Yun felt that he was too ashamed to go back. Moreover, he had a feeling that going back was also very dangerous. Therefore, he headed south and arrived at the Azure Dragon Empire. However, a few days after he arrived, he heard that his Gouda duchy had a new king. This caused Feng Yun to be shocked. Fortunately, he had run away. Otherwise, he would have definitely died. But Imperial Father, don't worry, I will avenge you. Once I summon an orange card general, the Voidless Empire will be finished. I only need 1 general. They could completely flatten Wushu Empire. Hearing this familiar voice, Fengyan looked towards Yihua and the three women who were wearing veils. However, he wasn't sure. The snowstorm that day was very big, and adding on that the distance was very far, he wasn't able to see Yihua's face clearly, and he could only hear his voice. Fengyan didn't pay much attention to the fact that the voices were similar. After all, how could the Emperor of Voidless Empire possibly come here? However, Yihua had seen Fengyan clearly, and he had also seen Fengyan right now. He didn't expect that the fourth prince, who had escaped, would come here. Interesting. Qing Yutong, who was acting coquettishly in Yihua's embrace, was suddenly startled. Master, the man on the other side has a summoning system. It's an advanced version. Master, you have to be careful. The summoning is already counting down. Qing Yutong asked curiously. Is it possible to mess it up? I don't know, but I can try. Alright, let's give it a try then. Qing Yutong wanted to destroy the summoning system again. This summoning system, it sounds like it is very powerful. After a long time the system said, Master, I can only speed up the summoning time. You even sped up. Then Master, I'll do it slowly. Forget it, it's good that it's fast, it just so happens that I'm bored. Qing Yutong was very curious what kind of thing would he be able to summon out. It seems to be very exciting. Yes, Master. Fengyan, who was sitting next to him, was very puzzled and even shocked. Originally, there were still 8 hours left. How did it suddenly shorten to 1 minute? System, what happened? Why did it shorten? Fengyan asked doubtfully. Originally, he wanted to hide in a place where there was no one around to summon. But now that there were so many people, what if something happened? Master, everything is normal. 1 minute countdown. It seemed that Fengyan's system didn't know that it had been hacked and was still counting down. Fengyan was a bit nervous. Just what kind of man or girl will appear? Or is it a strategist or a soldier? Hurry up and come out. Follow Master and make a name for yourself in this Kangluo continent. Along with the countdown of the last few seconds, Fengyan became even more nervous, and even Qing Yutong was also very nervous. Yihua could feel that Qing Yutong, who was in his embrace, was trembling slightly. Yihua smiled. Qingya, look at your little sister, she wants it again, Qingya. Donghuang Baiji. Qing Yutong immediately felt very embarrassed, and immediately sat up. Brother-in-law. Sister, don't listen to him. I'm not. Qingya and Donghuang Baiji shook their heads, expressing that they could understand. At this time Wani personally served the dishes and wine. He then sat down. Big brother and sister-in-law, don't stand on ceremony. You can have as much as you want. However, Fengyan, who was sitting at the next table, was dumbfounded. He stared blankly at the system interface. I'm rich. I'm rich. This was AF** King Byuji. Fengyan seemed to be unable to hold back the excitement in his heart, and he even wanted to roar out. The orange card that I have been raising for more than 10 years is finally effective. As expected of the main character's aura, giving away a woman at the start of the game. Fengyan's system could be seen displaying his character's information. Name Dodgy Race, 9-tailed fox loyalty, 50 full 100 strength, supreme of the law of the heavens passive, charm, aggro, immune to temptation techniques. Skills. Killer technique. Partner. Looking at the data on the surface, Fengyan clenched his fists tightly. Supreme of the law of the heavens. In this Kangluo continent, that damn Tianliang sect and Wushu Empire will be able to insta-kill you all. You all are trash. All of you can go to hell. Fengyan looked at Daji's profile picture and understood why the passive skill is aggro. With an appearance like this, it is impossible for her not to aggro. She is simply extremely seductive. Just looking at the picture made my blood boil. If I were to see the real person. This is my subordinate. Not only can I warm my bed, I can also fight. Today, when I go back, I can finally eat meat. The system is such a good thing. System, where is she? After waiting for a long time, Fengyan couldn't help but ask. Master, be at ease. Daji is already on her way here. Hurry up. I can't wait anymore. Also, why is Daji's loyalty so low? Fengyan asked gravely. Just now, He had just thought of the problem of loyalty. Master, Daji's strength is outstanding, and Master's current strength is rather low. Therefore, Master needs to quickly raise her loyalty. If loyalty drops to 0, Daji will no longer be Master's subordinate. Feng Yin nodded his head. Seems like I still have to be a wise master. Just now, I wanted to place Daji on my bed and rub her for a month, but it seems like that plan has gone down the drain. Forget it, let's raise her loyalty first. This is a very awesome orange card. I can't lose it. At this moment, a commotion suddenly sounded out. Men's screams could be heard everywhere. Feng Yin seemed to be able to sense that his Daji was about to arrive. Right now, Yihua seemed to have sensed a ghostly aura. An overlord actually appeared. An overlord actually appeared in this kind of small place, and it's a rather high-level overlord. How is this possible? Not only did Yihua sense it, Qingye and the others also sensed it, and all of them were puzzled. Right at this moment, a refreshing fragrance drifted in the air, and it was very pleasant. Yihua sneered in his heart. This overlord is a bit interesting. She seems to have her own charm technique. Looking at the surrounding men, all of them revealed a dumbfounded look. Even Wan Yi was the same. Master, be careful of charm technique. Wan Yi's system gave a warning, and immediately, an electric current struck Wan Yi's body. This caused Wan Yi to immediately be pleasantly surprised, and he was so scared that he broke out in cold sweat. This person hasn't even appeared yet, and she has already charmed the men to this extent. Feng Yin sneered in his heart. Come out! My subordinate, Daji. A beautiful figure appeared at the entrance of the room. All of the men's breathing seemed to have stopped for a moment. What kind of face is that? Too flirtatious. Looking at this kind of face, all of the men only had one thought, and that was to fiercely press their bodies down and rub themselves to death. Right now, Feng Yin was also stupefied. This person is much more attractive than a picture. That seductive smile of hers seemed to be innate, causing one to be endlessly addicted to it. A dense fragrance was emitted out from the woman's body. Her clothes were made of white muslin, and the skin that was inside the muslin was faintly discernible. That pair of eyes of hers, it seemed like as long as she looked at you, you would be at her mercy. End of this chapter. Chapter 803. Feng Yin gulped. This was the most seductive woman he had ever seen. It was as if a single word from her would be enough to hand over the entire world. Of course, Yihua also saw Daji, and his eyes revealed a look of surprise. For Daji to be able to make Yihua exclaim in admiration, it meant that Daji's beauty had already entered his eyes. Just look at how Qingye and Donghuang Baiji were attracted by Daji. Daji can even attract women. This Daji really lives up to her name. What if he didn't even look at Daji, afraid that he would tell her the secret? Qing Yutong also didn't expect that the other party would actually summon a woman, and furthermore, the woman was such a beautiful woman. Originally, Qing Yutong had thought that the other party was a monster. However, looking at such a woman made his heart itch, let alone a man. As Daji moved with her lotus steps, it seemed to move the hearts of all men. Daji's beautiful eyes looked at Feng Yin. The latter's heart skipped a beat and he didn't dare to make eye contact. Feng Yin's system was reminding him, Master, Daji's loyalty is decreasing. Please maintain your master's aura. Feng Yin wanted to curse out loud. Daji was a heavenly Tao sovereign, and he almost peed his pants when she looked at him. How could he still maintain his imposing manner? Damn his imposing manner. Feng Yin hurriedly opened up the interface, and discovered that Daji's loyalty was only at 30. This time, he was really scared out of his wits. Daji looked towards Yihua, and Yihua looked towards Daji. Their gazes intersected in the air. Daji felt that her heart, which had been sealed away for thousands of years, seemed to start beating. Was this her master? So handsome, so imposing. Master, Daji's loyalty is almost gone. Hearing the warning that the system gave out, Feng Yin was very anxious. Right now, Daji's loyalty is only at 1 point. However, just as Feng Yin was in despair, Daji's loyalty shot up like a rocket, directly going off the charts. Loyalty 100. Feng Yin knew what a loyalty level of 100 meant. If you asked her to die, she wouldn't even bat an eyelid. Although Feng Yan didn't know why Daji's loyalty suddenly went off the charts, Feng Yan was still very excited right now. With 100% loyalty, she would be able to make any kind of pose, and she would even be able to order Daji to squat down, and then stand up by herself. Awesome. This is so F***king awesome. Daji looked at her master with a blush on her face. Her master seemed to be very strong, and it was her honor to have such a master. It was a great honor to be able to serve such a master. Her master seemed to be looking at her. I don't even know how my makeup looks like when I appear today. I'm so nervous. Feng Yan saw that Daji was shy. Wow. Daji is definitely captivated by me. Look, Daji is actually playing with her hair shyly. Hurry up and come over, kneel beside your master, say your words of submission, and shock these spicy chickens. Yihua looked at Daji silently. This woman is not bad, she is extremely seductive. This is something that Qinya and the others do not have. Interesting. He didn't know why this supreme martial artist suddenly appeared. He seemed to be very shy when he looked at him. Because Yihua and Feng Yan just so happened to be in a straight line, Feng Yan mistakenly thought that Daji was looking at him, and his heart became very inflated. Daji could be seen walking over slowly with an incomparably bashful look on her face. Every single man looked at Daji, wondering what she was going to do. Feng Yan had even prepared what he was going to say, and he had even stood up, preparing to welcome his first woman. Daji walked to the middle of the two seats and took a look at the man who had stood up. She thought to herself, this man is really spicy, he is so ugly, and yet he is still smiling. Just looking at him makes me want to vomit. I really want to slap him away, this eyesore. Then she took a look at her master. His face was like the mid-autumn moon. His complexion was like the flowers in the dawn of spring. His hair was like a knife. His eyebrows were like ink. His face was like peach petals. And his eyes were like autumn waves. I really want to lie in my master's embrace and use my warm body to comfort my master's ice-cold palm. I want my master to know that Daji was born for you and will die for you. Daji is willing to do the most evil things in the world for my master, including killing myself. Feng Yan looked at Daji's flirtatious face and her expression of preparing to serve him, and Feng Yan felt incomparably comfortable. However, right at this moment, Daji turned around and walked to Yihua's right side. Daji's action caused Feng Yan to be stupefied. Daji, what are you doing? Your master is here. What are you walking over there for? Quickly come back. However, Daji's following action caused Feng Yan to feel as if he was struck by lightning. Right now, Yihua was drinking wine, and his gaze was on the table. Meanwhile, Daji, who walked to his side, slowly kneeled down and let out that voice that could make one go crazy. This is definitely the most beautiful melody in the world. Master, Daji has come late and made Master wait for so long. Master, please punish Daji. If Master doesn't punish Daji, Daji will kneel down and not get up. Daji, who was kneeling beside Yihua, said sweetly, this kind of woman is actually asking for punishment, but who would be willing to punish this kind of woman? I don't have the heart to do it at all. Furthermore, this kind of woman is actually someone else's slave. My God. Why is it like this? This is impossible. Yihua took a small sip of wine. This overlord is a bit interesting. She actually wants to recognize me as her master. However, Qinya and Donghuang Baiji were stupefied. We never expected that this woman would actually run to her husband and say such words. Qin Yutong was even more stupefied. Brother-in-law doesn't have a system at all. And the one who summoned Daji just now was the man at the table beside him. That man was stupefied. The person that I summoned actually ran to brother-in-law's side, and even recognized brother-in-law as her master. Yihua didn't say anything, while Daji kneeled down with her head lowered. She was a bit sad. Master definitely thinks that I came late. I got lost just now. I didn't come late on purpose. Feng Yan couldn't take it anymore and directly walked over. Daji, I am your master. You are mistaken. Everyone was speechless. Just what is going on? This man seems to be very anxious, but that man seems to be very calm. Just who is this godlike woman? Daji turned her head around and took a look at Feng Yan, then said coldly, who are you? And you still want to be my Daji's master? Why don't you take a piss and take a look at yourself? What kind of person are you? Don't force me to kill you in front of my master. Feng Yun's entire face darkened. After finished speaking, Daji said to Yihua tenderly, Master, I'm sorry. Daji said some vulgar words. Please forgive Daji's words. In my entire life, Daji will only have you as my master. Daji will serve under master's feet and look up to master's majestic appearance. When Feng Yun heard Daji's words, he felt as if countless of slaps were slapping onto him. The orange card that I raised painstakingly actually recognized someone else as its master, and it even said so many shameless words. This is infuriating. Master, Daji's attributes have changed. Following the system's reminder, Feng Yun opened up the attack interface. Name, Daji Race, Nine-Tailed Fox Loyalty, 100 Strength. Heavenly Law Overlord Passive. Charm, Draw Hatred, Immunity to Temptation Technique Skills. Killer Technique. Partner, Yihua ask for monthly tickets, all kinds of tickets. End of this chapter. Chapter 804. When Feng Yun saw the couple's name, he nearly fainted. Just a moment ago, that column was a question mark, but in the blink of an eye, it actually appeared. It would be normal if it was his own name, but this was someone else's name. It was an orange card Daji that he summoned. The supreme Daji of the heavenly Tao actually belonged to someone else. Feng Yun was unable to endure such a blow, and he abruptly took a step back and knocked down the table in an extremely sorry state. When everyone saw Feng Yun's expression, it was as if he had been abandoned by the woman he loved. However, in comparison, this abandonment wasn't without reason. Do you think you're worthy of such a woman with that kind of appearance of yours? Just like what that woman said just now. Why don't you take a piss and look at yourself in the mirror? You really don't know your place. Master, Daji will not appear in the system because her loyalty has dropped to 0. My condolences, Master. F***CKME. Whose F***King system are you? How dare you tell your master to grieve instead of thinking of a way to redeem himself? Feng Yun looked at Daji's information panel, and suddenly, snowflakes appeared and then disappeared. But now Daji was kneeling in front of someone else. His heart ached so much that it felt like it was going to split open. I've raised you for almost 20 years. You've eaten so much of my good stuff, and now you're kneeling at someone else's feet. Damn it. My woman. My orange card. My sweet dream. Master, don't be discouraged. The system will protect you. I'll protect you, my ass. The first orange card was already like this. Who knew if the next one would be like this? No. I can't just let it go like this. This Daji is my woman. Feng Yun stood up and shouted at Daji. I'm your master, he's not. Although Daji, who was kneeling on the ground, did not raise her head, she was already emitting a strong killing intent. Feng Yun could not help but take a step back in fright. Then he tripped himself and fell to the ground again. Master, Daji doesn't want to kill when we first meet, but please allow me to kill this man who is full of nonsense, so as not to dirty my master's ears. Daji's voice was indeed very beautiful. Even if she spoke in a cold tone, it would still make people feel a sense of desire. Feng Yun panicked, and even showed a look of terror. Master, run. Daji had already lost control. It would really kill its master. I hope master is wise. Feng Yun's system roared madly in his mind. Could it be that this stupid master still hasn't seen the reality? Daji could stab you to death with a single strand of her hair. Feng Yun wasn't a fool. Looking at Daji, who was kneeling on the ground, his heart was bleeding. However, he had no choice but to turn around and run. Qin Yutong was already stupefied and didn't know what to say. System, what exactly is going on here? Qin Yutong was already confused. Master, the male master used his domineering aura to subdue the summoned character. Qin Yutong, brother-in-law, actually conquered Daji with his domineering aura? How could this be? Master, actually that man was too careless, the system said softly. What do you mean? Qin Yutong asked curiously. Normally, such a powerful character wouldn't appear in a summoning system, unless that character was nurtured for a long period of time. This Daji clearly appeared in such a way, but the host's strength is too weak, and yet, he was able to summon such a powerful character. A generation gap has already appeared, and I believe that the loyalty of the summoned character is very low. If this host were to secretly summon a character, there would only be two outcomes. The first outcome would be that the summoned character would kill the host, and the second outcome would be that the host would become the slave of the summoned character, and the strength of the male master would make her submit to him. This is the principle of the law of the jungle. Hearing the system's explanation, Qin Yutong finally understood. This man wanted to become fat in one bite, and in the end, such a thing happened. This is truly unfortunate. I suffered a huge loss. No. He should be lucky. If he were to secretly summon a character, he would definitely die. Fortunately, brother-in-law saved his life. Brother-in-law is such a kind person. After saving other people's life, he even mysteriously obtained a female servant. I don't know what Big Sister and Big Sister Baiji are thinking, but looking at Daji's attitude, unless I get rid of her, I will definitely follow brother-in-law. Haha, there is going to be a good show to watch. Qinye and Donghuang Baiji came back to their senses from the shock. Yihua was just drinking a bit of wine here, and when such a beautiful woman came over and asked to serve him, a woman's heart would definitely be filled with jealousy. Damn it, it is also troublesome for a husband to be too outstanding. He is simply like a magnet, the kind that specializes in attracting women. Right now, Daji was still respectfully kneeling beside Yihua, and Yihua did not say anything, nor did he express his opinion. In actuality, Yihua didn't mind having a female servant. Daji's appearance is up to standard, her words are pleasant to hear, and looking at her current actions, she is obedient enough. Her strength is also not bad, and there is still potential to be developed. It should be possible for her to walk unhindered in Kangluo continent. However, such a matter still needs to be decided by the 3 empresses. To offend 3 empresses for the sake of one, I have even passed math. I know that 3 is greater than 1. Qinye and Donghuang Baiji took a look at each other, seemingly communicating with their eyes. The 2 women came to an agreement. Young lady, our husband appreciates your kindness, but please return. Qinye said faintly, then took a look at Yihua. Don't you know what my husband is thinking? This Daji's appearance is already up to standard. I reckon that she wants to look at me. At least you are still thinking for us. The men who were sitting around cried out in surprise. Although the faces of the 3 women were masked, judging from their graceful figures and the faintly discernible faces under the white veil, they are definitely super beauties. Their relationship with that man is definitely not ordinary. Wani, who was sitting at the side in his heart. As a man, he understood the question mark bro's thoughts very well. With such a woman kneeling beside him, how could his heart not be moved? However, there is a tiger at home. There is nothing I can do. Daji's slender shoulders trembled slightly, and a slight choking sound could be heard. Daji could be seen raising her enchanting face. Right now, her face was already filled with tears, making her look delicate and pitiful. Madam, since young, Daji did not have any parents and lived an inhumane life. Right now, the reason why I came over is to look for Master and serve beside Master's feet. I do not want to fight with the madams for Master's favor. If the madams feel that Daji is an eyesore, then grant Daji death. This way, Daji will be able to die beside Master's feet, and this can be counted as a kind of honor. Qinye and Donghuang Baiji were stupefied. This Daji sure knows how to twist words. Although I don't know if what Daji said is true or false, her eloquence is definitely not bad. Even if I die, I will definitely die beside brother-in-law's feet. Without waiting for Qinye to speak, Daji looked at Yihua, who was silently drinking wine, and said, Master, Daji has already seen your honor, and I have no regrets in this life. Daji will not leave Master, and thus, I will let Daji's soul accompany Master. After finished speaking, Daji's slender index finger could be seen growing out a sharp nail, and with her beautiful eyes closed, Daji poked towards her spotlessly white jade neck. End of chapter. Chapter 805. Yihua was a little surprised. This Daji is for real? With this poke, someone might really die. Qin Yutong didn't expect that this Daji would be for real either. Qinye and Donghuang Baiji didn't plan to force someone to death, so they were shocked by Daji's actions. Why does my husband have to be so outstanding? This is so annoying. I didn't expect that this awesome Daji is really going to commit suicide. That expression of hers doesn't seem to be an act. However, if I find out that Daji is also wearing a row of question marks on her head, this is too scary. Suddenly, a hand pressed onto Daji's spotlessly white wrist. Those sharp nails had already pierced into Daji's skin, and a stream of blood flowed down from that spotlessly white skin. It was truly a ghastly sight. Yihua took a look at Qinya. Luckily, I was able to endure it just now. If I had made a move just now, they would have made a fuss again. That's right, the one who pressed onto Daji's wrist was Qinya. Qinya's kind heart erupted again. She couldn't bear to see Daji die just like that. She didn't do anything wrong, and yet, she committed suicide just because I said a sentence. It makes it seem as if I am a murderer, who forced a pitiful lady to death. Daji slowly opened her beautiful eyes and looked at Qinya. 2 streams of tears flowed out from her eyes as she bowed towards Qinya. Thank you, madam, for helping me. Pooh. The wine in Yihua's mouth sprayed out. This Daji is too damn interesting. Qinya didn't say anything at all. Qinya couldn't wrap her head around what was going on. I only stopped you from committing suicide, and you actually bowed to me. Donghuang Baiji shook her head. Why did such a thing happen? This is so depressing. Qin Yutong was more or less the same as Yihua. She was also secretly laughing. She felt that this Daji was too interesting. What if I am really envious of this brother? This luck with women came so mysteriously. Could it be that I am the main character? Yihua placed down the wine cup and said lightly, Qinya, I really didn't expect that you would allow such a thing to happen. Your husband is very gratified. Qinya looked at Yihua dumbfoundedly. What did I allow? Qin Yutong smiled and said, Big sister, I didn't expect you to be so generous. Brother-in-law, you will have a maid in the future. Looking at her husband and her little sister, Qinya regretted marrying her little sister to her husband. Right now, Qinya is completely on Yihua's side. Daji quickly wiped her tears and said respectfully to Qinya, Madam, don't worry. Daji is only master's maid. I will always have this identity. The men sitting at the side were speechless. Such a woman was actually someone else's maid. She even asked to be a maid. Had the world changed? What if he had a feeling that this was the protagonist's plot? Why didn't he have such a plot arrangement? Qinya waved her hand in annoyance. I don't want to say anything anymore. I don't have the heart to force him to death, and I don't feel comfortable letting him do as he pleases. She looked at her husband and saw that he was putting on a straight face. Keep up the act. I don't know how happy you are right now. Yihua continued to remain silent. You are the one who agreed to it, not me. I was still feeling gloomy, but suddenly, such a beautiful maid appeared out of nowhere. I am a bit happy. Without any instructions, Daji still knelt on the ground. Get up. Qinya said helplessly. Thank you, madam. Daji said in a choked voice. Then she stood up. The blood under her neck was shocking. Yihua shook his head. Qinya was just that kind-hearted. If she was a bit more heartless, Daji would have most likely already become a corpse by now. However, if Qinya really becomes that kind of woman, I won't like her that much. Yihua stretched out his hand and was about to pick up the wine glass. Daji immediately reached out and picked it up first. Master, please let Daji test it to see if it's poisonous. After that, Daji took a sip and said seriously, Master, this wine is not poisonous. You can taste it without worry. Yihua, I, the Supreme Overlord, had just drunk a few cups of wine. It can't be that you want to kiss me indirectly, right? Daji, who put down the wine glass, blushed slightly, making her even more charming. He looked at the wine glass and saw Daji's red lip mark. This caused Qinya and Donghuang Baiji to feel dizzy. They actually got a female bodyguard for their husband, fuck. Why did he come to this martial arts arena? Who was the one who suggested this? If he didn't come, how could he possibly see this Daji? Who is it? It was Wan Yi who suggested it. Motherf ****. Qinya and Donghuang Baiji immediately looked towards Wan Yi, and Wan Yi felt his entire body turning cold. Master, danger warning. Wan Yi cried out that he was wronged. This really has nothing to do with me. I am also very confused. Qinya took out a handkerchief. Wipe off the blood on my neck. Daji said respectfully. Thank you, madam. Daji can do it myself. Lest Daji's despicable blood stains madam's expensive handkerchief. Chinya held onto her forehead helplessly. This Daji's words. Why do I feel that she is so good at coaxing people? Suddenly, a fly circled around Yi Hua. Daji's beautiful eyes turned cold as she shouted out. Audacious. Daji's shout gave everyone a fright. They thought that there was an assassin. Daji's 5 fingers turned into claws and slashed towards the fly that had fainted. Whoosh. 5 green figures could be seen streaking across the rooftop. A mere fly dares to circle around Master's surroundings and disturb Master's mood. Master, Daji has already eliminated this damned fly. Master and Madam can continue to drink. Daji will be waiting at the side. Daji's beautiful eyes were like a radar, scanning the surroundings, killing whoever dared to act recklessly. Just as she finished speaking, boom boom boom, the roof at the side collapsed. Those 5 green figures had actually broken through the roof. A fly landed on the ground and twitched slightly. The shadow in its heart was very big. Big sister, I am just passing by, and you actually use such a move to deal with a fly. Other people don't even know how to use a butcher's knife to kill a chicken, but you actually used a dragon salyer to kill a fly. Looking at the collapsed house at the side, the corner of Yi Hua's mouth twitched slightly. This made a little fierce. I like it. Qin Yutong also felt that this Daji was different from the masses, and was very interesting. Big sister and big sister Baiji will probably have a headache. Qingye and Donghuang Baiji wanted to cry, but no tears came out. Isn't this a little too meticulous? It's just killing a fly, and she actually destroyed the roof at the side. Donghuang Baiji couldn't help but say, Daji. Madam, please speak. Don't you think it's too noisy? Daji will kill these ants right now so that they don't disturb Master and Madam's peace. Hearing this, Yi Hua felt very happy. This is exactly what I like. Qingye and Donghuang Baiji rolled their eyes. This kind of personality is most probably the kind that Yi Hua likes. Everyone who was sitting at the table heard it. This Daji is too savage to actually want to kill everyone here. Aren't you afraid of being punished? Daji's passive ability in the information bar was not for nothing. What if I also have a maid like this? It would be too great. She can be a bodyguard during the day, and at night, she can even warm the bed. End of this chapter. Chapter 806. Brother ? We shouldn't stay here for long. The guards will be here soon. Wani reminded him in a low voice. Although he wasn't afraid, it would still be troublesome. Daji said coldly, Master, Madam, with Daji here, there's no need to worry. Anyone who dares to disturb Master and Madam's drinking will only be greeted with death. Yi Hua felt that this Daji was becoming more and more in line with his appetite. Daji! Yi Hua called out faintly. Daji went into a daze for a moment when she heard her master calling out to her for the first time. Soon after, Daji knelt onto the ground. Master, were you calling out to Daji just now? Oh my God! This is the most glorious moment in Daji's life. Master, you are too good to Daji, and Daji is unable to repay you with anything. Thus, I can only dedicate my life to Master. I hope that Master will not despise Daji. Qingye and Donghuang Baiji. Qin Yutong felt that even those subordinates of brother-in-law are not as formidable as Daji. Brother-in-law had only shouted out for a bit, and when he looked at Daji, he was so excited that he seemed as though he was about to orgasm. However, Yi Hua liked this kind of tone. It has been a long time since I have heard such flattering words. Furthermore, it was the kind of flattering words that were incomparably honest. What if he felt that a dozen of these girls were too good at flattering him? Yi Hua said lightly, Get up, I won't despise you. Daji was so excited that words couldn't describe it. She said shyly, Don't worry, Master. Daji will definitely serve Master with all my heart in the future. Daji is Master's shield. If you want to hurt Master's great body, you must first step on Daji's corpse. Hearing that, Qingye and Donghuang Baiji felt a bit more comfortable. Daji's words were just to protect her man, and she didn't have any other intentions. At the very least, Yi Hua's safety would be guaranteed to a certain extent, and Qingye and Donghuang Baiji would feel much more at ease. My subordinates don't even know how to flatter me anymore. Look at this Daji, she is so good at talking. The person who is able to harm me has yet to be born. Yihua said faintly. Daji looked at her master's confident expression and said in admiration, Master is right. Master's glory will spread all over the earth. Everyone should submit to Master, including Daji. Comfortable. This Daji is not bad. She had quite a glib tongue. 6. Daji, don't speak so exaggeratedly in the future. Qingye couldn't help but remind Daji. She felt goosebumps all over her body. Daji said respectfully, Madam, I'm not exaggerating. As the most honorable woman in the world, you will stand at the peak with Master. You will look down on the heroes and see the great rivers and mountains. Qing Yutong couldn't help but laugh. Qingye and Donghuang Baiji laughed as well. This bootlicking is really amazing. Let's go. Yihua stood up and said faintly. Daji immediately walked in front and said respectfully, Master, let Daji scout ahead to prevent some lowly people from approaching you and touching your noble body. Everyone, Daji. Yihua called out faintly. Daji immediately turned around shyly. Master has to walk at the front. Yihua reminded. Daji's expression changed, and she immediately knelt down. Master, Daji was thoughtless. Please punish me. Seeing such a super beauty kneeling on the ground at the drop of a hat, everyone felt dizzy. Alright, forget about it. Master, please punish Daji. Let Daji remember this and not make the same mistake in the future. Daji, who was kneeling on the ground, begged for punishment. If you don't punish me, I won't get up. Yihua said gravely. Daji, are you going to disobey Master's orders? Daji doesn't dare. Daji will be obedient in the future. Daji obediently retreated behind Qingye and the others while remaining vigilant. As a personal maid, she had to know how to share her master's burden. In actuality, Feng Yun didn't walk far. Looking at his orange card, he obediently followed behind the group. His heart was bleeding. For so many days and nights, I nurtured my orange card carefully, and now, I have made a wedding dress for someone else. How can I be like this? Master, don't be discouraged. I have already told Master long ago that we have to take things step by step. Orange card characters aren't that easy to control. This time, Feng Yun used Daji to learn a lesson. Thus, he wouldn't insist on nurturing an orange card character anymore. I will first get a few white cards to use and slowly level them up to orange cards. I should have listened to the system from the start. Now that I have made a wedding dress for someone else, the beautiful Daji now belongs to someone else. It doesn't matter. Daji ran away. I still have Diaochan. Wait. Countless beauties are in the system. When the time comes, I will pull out all of them and appear in front of Daji, and make her regret her choice back then. Brother ? How about going to my house to rest for a bit? Wani suggested. I must definitely make arrangements for this group of ? Yihua felt that he could rest for a bit, so he didn't reject. One family could be considered as a rich family in the Azure Dragon Empire, but they were just rich, and there weren't any officials in the family. One family's mansion was rather big. Although it couldn't be compared to those royal relatives and nobles, it was more than a few times bigger when compared to ordinary rich people. Within the mansion, there was a small bridge, a flowing river, and a rockery that was like a painting. Brother ? Sisters-in-law, anything is fine. My parents aren't at home. They went out to discuss business. Wani instructed the servants to go and prepare a room. Just as Yihua was about to sit down, Daji suddenly became nervous. Master, wait a moment. Yihua stopped and looked at Daji with a puzzled look. Daji said shyly, Master, the chair is a bit dirty. Let Daji wipe it. Don't dirty Master's clothes. After finished speaking, Daji used her pure white sleeves to lightly wipe the chair. Master, you can sit now. Yihua flicked Daji's forehead, and the latter cried out in pain as she held onto her forehead. Don't be like this in the future. Yihua said faintly. I, the Supreme Overlord, am not that unreasonable. Daji understands. Master, please don't blame me. This is Daji's first time being a maid, and I don't have much experience. Daji said shyly. Master actually flicked my forehead just now. I am so happy. Qingye and Donghuang Baiji sat at Yihua's two sides. Qing Yutong observed the main hall, while Daji didn't need any other servants at all. She personally poured tea for her master and the madams. This made Qingye feel that it isn't bad to have such a considerate girl to serve them. When Donghuang Baiji was the empress, there were people who served her, but after Yihua came over, other than imperial guards, there was no one else in the entire palace. Yihua didn't even prepare any maids, and he had to do everything himself. Now that he has Daji, it doesn't seem to be a bad thing. Master, madams, please have a taste. If Daji doesn't brew the tea well, Daji will brew the tea again. Yihua and the others took a sip of the tea. Not bad, this tea brewing skill is pretty good. Of course, Daji is a person who has lived for tens of thousands of years, and brewing tea is a basic skill. End of this chapter. Chapter 807. The three women took off their veils since there was no one around. When Daji, who was brewing tea, saw the honor of the ladies, she was stunned. She's so beautiful. Master's wife actually has such a beautiful appearance. Master is really lucky. Fortunately, I'm pretty good looking as well, and didn't embarrass Master. It seemed that Daji was very confident in her appearance. On the other hand, Donghuang Baiji felt that Daji's tea was pretty good. Since even I am unable to brew the tea, in the future, I should just kidnap Daji and make her my maid. Thinking up to here, Donghuang Baiji and Qingye discussed in a low voice. The two women couldn't help but nod their heads. Daji. Donghuang Baiji called out with a light smile. Daji came before Donghuang Baiji respectfully. Madam, is there anything that you need Daji to arrange? Qingye smiled and said, Daji, it's like this, will you listen to us? Of course Daji will listen to the madams. Yihua and Qing Yutong felt that they wanted to stir up trouble. Brother-in-law, big sister is going to headhunt people. We cannot let them headhunt us. Qing Yutong said lightly. It wasn't easy for an interesting person to come over. Yihua slightly wrinkled his brows. Qingye and Donghuang Baiji want to poach my people. Daji, how about you follow us in the future? Qingye said with a smile. After hearing this, Daji did not reply immediately. Instead, she looked at Yihua. Yihua sneered in his heart. You want to abduct me, a maid? How could it be that easy? Daji, what are you looking at him for? Donghuang Baiji said. Daji pursed her lips and said in a low voice, Madam, I am Master's maid. I have to serve Master. If Master agrees, I will serve the two madams. Qingye and Donghuang Baiji looked towards Yihua. Their meaning was very clear. Are you going to give me or not? Meanwhile, Daji looked towards Yihua pitifully. Master, don't abandon Daji. Yihua drank his tea and pretended not to see anything. This angered Qingye and Donghuang Baiji. Just a while ago, he said that he would listen to everything I say, but look at him now, he is a big liar. Men were all big pig trotters. They didn't even believe what they said. Daji, Yihua called. Daji was overjoyed and walked to the front of Yihua. Master, what can Daji do for you? Of course, I have to listen to the madams, but I am still your master. Yihua gave face to the madams. I understand. Don't worry, master. Yihua nodded. At this time, Wani returned to the lobby. Brother ? The room is ready. You can stay as long as you want. What if you are living in such a big mansion by yourself? Is there no one else? Qing Yutong asked curiously. After all, he had a system. Wani sat at the side and said respectfully, Sister-in-law, I do have a fiancé, but, before he could finish his words, a tender voice came from outside the door. What if? Get out here right now. A woman dressed in a fiery red dress walked in angrily, a long sword hanging from her waist. She had delicate features, but her face was covered in anger. Beside the woman stood an elder who wore a black robe and gave off an ominous feeling. Just when Lin Tianxin stepped into the lobby, he saw Yihua and the others, and was immediately captivated by them. After all, these people's appearance was rather high. Even the old man behind him was puzzled. Daji looked at Lin Tianxin and the others vigilantly. As long as they dare to speak rudely, I will kill them. Wani stood up and shouted. Lin Tianxin, are you sick? Can't you see that I am entertaining guests? Lin Tianxin retracted his gaze and looked at Wan Yi with a look of disdain. Wan Yi, I am telling you. I, Lin Tianxin, am a disciple of the benevolent king prison. You are out of my league. He, Lin Tianxin, when did you climb up to such a high branch? Not bad. Wan Yi mocked. Humph, you ignorant and incompetent prodigal. You even went to a brothel to sleep with the courtesan last night. Disgusting. Wan Yi went into a daze for a moment, then laughed. That's right. The money spent was worth it just to disgust you. You. Wan Yi told you. I want to. Without waiting for Lin Tianxin to finish, Wan Yi took the initiative and said, I want to divorce you right now. I have long despised you. In the past, you used my connections to find people everywhere, you scumbag. You dare to divorce me. Lin Tianxin was quite angry. Yihua suddenly laughed lightly. I seem to have seen this scene somewhere before, but I can't remember where. What are you laughing at? Is there a place for you to laugh? Lin Tianxin pointed at Yihua and shouted. However, just as she finished speaking, slap. Daji made her move directly and directly slapped Lin Tianxin, and said coldly, You dare to be rude to my master, how dare you? Master, please allow me to kill this woman. Yihua drank his tea and did not make a sound, seemingly waiting for that old man to speak. You actually hit me, senior brother Star Abyss. Lin Tianxin actually shouted sweetly, and even held onto the old man's arm. This broadened Yihua's horizons. Wan Yi was also stupefied. Originally, he wanted to make her a cuckold, but he didn't expect that she was even more ruthless and actually found an old man to make her a cuckold. F***ck. Actually, Star Abyss was not an old man. He just cultivated into an old man, and he was not even 30 years old yet. There was a kind of evil technique in the benevolent king prison that could refine a young man into an old man, but his battle chi would also increase rapidly. Of course, it was just one of the evil techniques. Very few people would cultivate it, but there were still people who were willing to sacrifice their youth. Just like this Star Abyss. Wan Yi felt great looking at that slap on Lin Tianxin's face. Delightful. He had long wanted to fight, just that he was afraid of exposing his true strength. A man should be able to grow and shrink, not be flexible. Yihua's interest was piqued. Benevolent King Prison, one of the forces in Aluo River, his luck was rather good. Star Abyss protected Lin Tianxin behind him and said solemnly, Miss, I'm a disciple of the Benevolent King Prison, you. Slap. Before Star Abyss finished speaking, Daji gave another slap, directly making Star Abyss stupefied. Lin Tianxin looked at senior brother blankly. He was actually beaten. And furthermore, he was beaten with his house exposed. Wan Yi also didn't expect that he would actually directly beat up someone from the Benevolent King Prison. This was blowing things up. Yihua just wanted to blow things up. This Daji was really capable, quite protective of her master. Star Abyss covered his face, his old face appearing horrified as he shouted, You dare to hit me? Do you know my master? Slap. Try hitting me one more time. I slap. Daji said coldly. Your request is really despicable enough. Daji's blows were still very heavy. Even a few teeth fell on the ground. It really made people's hair stand on end. At this moment Lin Tianxin shouted, Wan Yi, you won't have any what-ifs in the future. You're dead this time. You actually beat up someone from the Benevolent King Prison. Did I allow you to speak? Daji instantly appeared in front of Lin Tianxin and gave another slap. The crisp sound made people perspire in shame. Her chin should be crooked. End of this chapter. Chapter 808. Lin Tianxin was directly slammed into the pillar. His jaw was indeed a little crooked, but he didn't faint. Before her master gave a death order, Daji still controlled herself and did not beat him to death. This was also what a maid should do. Good fight. Wan Yi let out a cry of joy. This was too great. This damned woman was finally being punished. His heart was extremely happy. Brother ? Was indeed awesome. He didn't even bat an eyelid when he beat up the people from the Ren King prison. Lin Tianxin lay at the side, trembling with fear. He didn't dare to say anything. He had been beaten silly. Currently, Star Abyss's mouth was full of fresh blood, and his teeth were scattered on the ground. And I bent ribs, throwing Wang Yupu regrets rice, calamity and I stuffy. Star Abyss's leaky teeth made his enunciations unclear. Dong Huang Baiji threw a slap at the empty space. Although she did not touch it, she still slapped Star Abyss's face. Straighten your tongue before you speak. Wow, is Baiji so fierce? This broadened Yihua's horizons. Suddenly, Star Abyss took out a firecracker and actually rushed outside, setting it off instantly. Bayu, a firework soared into the sky, blooming a prison character in the white sky. Even in the daytime, it was very obvious. While Star Abyss roared, spittle and fresh blood splattering everywhere in his mouth. Once happy, the boat is dizzy. Money pig rice, mother's milk is inlaid with gold. Daji. Yihua called out lightly. Daji's murderous expression instantly became gentle when she heard her master's shout. Master, this was definitely the meaning of acting coquettishly towards her master, making Star Abyss and Lin Tianxin dumbfounded. This female assassin a second ago, and in the next moment, she actually became a cute girl. The disparity was too great. They simply could not accept it. Knock that person out. What kind of bird language is he speaking? Yes, master. Daji also learned from Donghuang Baiji and directly whipped across the air. Star Abyss did not even have time to react when his entire person crashed into the fake mountain and fainted. It seemed to be quite painful. Daji looked at Lin Tianxin, who was trembling in fear and didn't dare to move. These people were devils, but if master came later, they wouldn't have a good time. Of course, Yihua knew that the other party was calling for someone, and thus he let it be. Daji, come over and help massage master's shoulders. Yihua said faintly. Having a maid is also good. My wife will be able to relax a bit too. Daji, there's no need. I'll do it. Qinya could be seen standing up, then lightly pressed onto Yihua's back, then lowered her head and said, Yihua, you said before that you will listen to us. You cannot go back on your words. All right, keep your promise. Yihua patted onto the back of Qinya's hand. This woman is starting to get jealous. However, being able to enjoy the massage from his wife, Yihua still felt very comfortable. Daji was a little disappointed. It was not easy for her master to let her massage, but the mistress stopped her. It seemed that the mistress was still worried about her. She suddenly hated herself for looking like a fox. If she wasn't so outstanding, Madam wouldn't be worried and would be able to serve her master with all her heart. Why do I have to look so good? It's really annoying. Daji, help me massage it. Qin Yutong suddenly laughed and said, All right, madam. Daji walked to the back of Qin Yutong, then placed her slender hands onto Qin Yutong's shoulders and lightly massaged them. Qin Yutong was very mischievous, and she suddenly stretched out her hand and touched Daji's hand. This shocked Daji, but she still suppressed it. Qinya glared at her sister fiercely. What did you mean by that just now? Are you taking advantage of others? Yihua also saw it, but he did not say anything. He enjoyed his wife's massage. It's really comfortable. Qinya's massage skills are getting better and better. Not long later, the huge army did not come, but two men came. They wore black clothes and carried something on their backs. It was blocked by a black cloth, so they could not see it clearly. The two men looked at the fainted Star Abyss, and that Lin Tianxin who was beaten silly, and their expressions became grave. There were two men sitting in the house, and the rest were all women. Furthermore, these women were actually so beautiful. There was actually such a beauty in the world. It was really amazing. Master, martial uncle. Lin Tianxin crawled towards the two men, as if he had found a strong backing. Lin Tianxin, what's going on? As Lin Tianxin's master, Chu Jiming was a 9th grade Didosher, and the man beside Chu Jiming was called Yuan Qing, Chu Jiming's senior brother, a peak Didosher. Although the two of them were not ranked highly in the Ren King prison, they were still well-known figures outside. Master, martial uncle, these people hit me. Lin Tianxin accused everyone, just like a child. Daddy, they hit me. Yuan Qing looked at the fainted Star Abyss at the side and asked coldly, Do you know what the consequences are for hitting the people of our Ren King prison? Yihua did not want to talk to these trash, so he said indifferently, Daji, go and deal with it. Okay, master, Daji said with that extremely sweet voice of hers. She wasn't trying to seduce Yi Hua. It was just that she had such a voice to begin with. However, when facing enemies, Daji would usually lower her voice when speaking. Madam, Daji temporarily cannot give you a massage. After Daji eliminates the enemy, I will give Madam a massage. Qing Yutong held onto Daji's small hand and patted it. It's fine, Madam will wait for you to come back. Looking at Qing Yutong's ambiguous gaze, Daji fled in defeat. This made Qing Yutong giggle. This was too interesting. However, Qingya could not help but knock her little sister's head. What are you doing? Big sister, this head of mine was knocked silly by you. Qing Yutong rubbed her head and looked at Yi Hua pitifully. Brother-in-law will make the decision. Qingya said petulantly. Yi Hua, why don't you teach her a lesson? Alright, I will teach her a lesson tonight. Yi Hua said lightly. Qing Yutong had a face of not being afraid. Anyway, her entire body was already played with by her brother-in-law, so there was no need to be afraid. Daji walked out of the door, and her pretty face became ice-cold. The ghostly aura that her body emitted made Chu Jiming and Yuan Qing's faces sink, and they immediately released their qi to resist. Demon woman. To actually use charm techniques. Chu Jiming shouted. His gaze was grave. Daji's mouth hooked up into a charming smile. Today is the important day for me and Master to meet. Originally, I did not want to see blood, but the blood is also red, which means that Daji's master will be prosperous in the future. This is also a good omen, so the two of you, please release your blood. This will be your blessing. Demon woman, stop trying to mislead the people here. Today let me take care of you, you demon. Yuan Qing took out the thing that was on his back, and the black cloth that was covering the thing instantly dissipated, revealing the thing's original appearance. It was actually an exquisite pipa, and it was blue in color. Every single string was emitting out a weak aura, and it seemed like the pipa was not an ordinary item. And the name of the song was the same as well. He was actually playing a zither, and the zither was placed on his thighs. The two of them sat down unconventionally, and the aura of a Dodosher instantly spread out from their bodies. End of this chapter. That you're tuning in to the Li Mei's Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.